In the vast tapestry of the Elder Scrolls, where gods and mortals weave fates, both grand and tragic, few figures embody the chaotic whimsy of existence quite like Sheogorath, the Daedric Prince of Madness. His realm, the Shivering Isles, stands as a testament to the unpredictable nature of the orbic forces that govern our world. To speak of Sheogorath is to delve into the heart of insanity itself, a place where reason frays at the edges and laughter echoes through the void. Scholars of the arcane and historians of Tamriel have long pondered the origins of this enigmatic deity, piecing together fragments from ancient texts, forbidden tomes, and the fevered dreams of those who have glimpsed his domain. What follows is a chronicle of the mad god, drawn from the annals of lore, the whispers of the madhouse, and the shivering winds that carry his eternal jest. The concept of madness in the Elder Scrolls cosmology is not merely affliction of the mind, but a fundamental aspect of the dream that is the Idra and Dedra, those Itida who shaped creation, each represent facets of the divine struggle between stasis and change. Sheogorath, as one of the Daedric princes, presides over the unraveling of order, the delightful disorder that prevents the universe from calcifying into boredom. His title, the Seducer of Order, speaks to this role, for in his presence the rigid structures of reality bend and twist like vines in a storm. Yet, unlike the more malevolent princes such as Molig Bal or Mehron's Dagon, Sheogorath's madness is not always destructive. It is capricious, creative, and often laced with a profound, if inscrutable, wisdom. To understand him, one must first grasp the Daedric hierarchy from which he emerges. The Daedra, born from the Atada, who refuse to partake in the creation of Mundus, dwell in their own planes of oblivion, realms unbound by the laws of time and space as mortals know them. Sheogorath's plane, known variously as the Madhouse, the Shivering Realm, or the Isles of Madness, is a fractured paradise where the boundaries between joy and terror blur into a kaleidoscope of sensation. Ancient accounts, such as those preserved in the Psychic Order's esoteric libraries, suggest that Sheogorath has always existed in some form, a primordial force of chaos predating even the Dawn era. However, the most compelling narratives trace his manifestation to the interplay of the other princes, particularly during the turbulent epochs when the wheels of the towers turned and the grey cowl concealed truths from the unworthy. Consider the grey mark, that cyclical cataclysm within the Shivering Isles, where order threatens to consume the mad paradise. In this event, Sheogorath is said to be temporarily overthrown by Galig, the Prince of Order, only to rebirth himself in a new guise. This duality raises profound questions. Is Sheogorath the true form, or a mask worn to defy the curse of perfection? Loremasters debate this endlessly, citing passages from the 16 Accords of Madness, a series of sermons attributed to the mad god himself. Volume 1, for instance, proclaims, "Madness is the world of change, where the Red King challenges the Grey in their eternal war." Here, the Red King symbolizes chaotic vitality, while the Grey represents stifling uniformity. Such allegories paint Sheogorath not as a villain, but as a necessary counterbalance, ensuring that the Orbis remains vibrant and alive. Mortals have encountered Sheogorath since the Merethic era, when the first nomad shamans of Atmora whispered of a trickster spirit who granted boons wrapped in riddles. In the First Era, during the Alessian Reformation, tales emerge of Sheogorath's interference in the War of the First Council, where his cheese-loving cultists sowed discord among the Dwemer and Yet, it is in the Third Era that his presence becomes most tangible, particularly through the machinations that led to the Shivering Isles' expansion in the annals of the Oblivion crisis of 3E 433, that cataclysmic breach when Marion's Dagon's legions poured forth, coincided with the resurgence of Sheogorath's influence, as if the mad god delighted in the pandemonium. To truly appreciate Sheogorath's character, one must examine his artifacts and summons. The Wabajak, his infamous staff, embodies the essence of his domain, a tool that transmutes reality with a single zap, turning foes to cheese or allies to beasts. Summoned on the 2nd of Evening Star, Sheogorath appears in visions of swirling colors and nonsensical pronouncements, often bestowing quests that test the sanity of the hero. In the legend of the Champion of Cyrodiil, the Nerevarini wait, the hero of Kavach receives a mantle from the mad god, tasked with maintaining the statue of the meadow ferd in bronze. This seemingly trivial errand masks deeper machinations, revealing Sheogorath's penchant for using mortals as pawns in his grand, incomprehensible game. The mad god's appearance is as mercurial as his mood. He is often depicted as a jovial man of indeterminate age, clad in motley finery with a cane topped by a grinning skull. His eyes, one blue and one green, flicker with otherworldly light, and his laughter a cacophony of bells and thunder heralds, both fortune and folly. In Apocryphus shadowed stacks, Hermaeus Marat's agents have catalogued instances where Sheogorath manifests as a golden saint or a raving lunatic, shapeshifting to suit the observer's fears or fancies. This fluidity underscores a key tenet of his philosophy: reality is but a mad dream, and we are all players in its theatre. As we venture deeper into the lore, the Shivering Isles beckon, that bifurcated realm where mania blooms in eternal spring and dementia festers in perpetual decay. But before crossing that threshold, reflect on the words of the mad god from his own accord. All are one, all are none. The mad god laughs at the sun. In this jest lies the seed of understanding, for Sheogorath teaches that madness is not the absence of reason, but its transcendence. The origins of the Shivering Isles are shrouded in the mists of the Dawn era, when the Itadar danced upon the waters of creation. Jigalig, the Prince of Order, was once a being of perfect logic, his realm a crystalline lattice of unyielding perfection. The other Daedric princes, envious of his clarity or fearful of its dominance, cursed him with madness, transforming him into Sheogorath each time he sought to reclaim his form. Thus the Greymark was born, Jigalog's inevitable rise, the purging of chaos, and the rebirth of the mad god from the ashes of order. This cycle, detailed in the holy text, the Anticipations, suggests that the Shivering Isles are a prison and a playground, a realm forged from the tension between structure and anarchy. Excavations in the Isles, conducted by intrepid scholars before the barriers sealed once more, reveal ruins that predate the curse. The towers of the Isles, such as Pinion and Brelock, stand as sentinels of forgotten eras, their stones etched with runes that shift when unobserved. Inhabitants speak of the shivering, a perpetual tremor that mirrors the realm's unstable heart, causing landscapes to warp and memories to fracture. To enter the Isles, one must pass through the Gates of Madness, near Niben Bay, a portal that appears only to those deemed worthy by the mad god's capricious Willofan, those already teetering on the edge of sanity. Within, the land splits into mania and dementia, twin halves of a fractured whole. Mania, to the north, is a riot of color and creativity. Fields of flamestalk flowers blaze without burning, and the sky weeps golden rain that hardens into jewelry upon the ground. Here, golden saints patrol with fierce loyalty, their armor gleaming like captured sunlight. Dementia, to the south, is a swamp of sorrow and shadow, where trees bleed ink and the air hums with the dirges of the dark seducers. The Electra, those iridescent butterfly people, flit between realms, serving as messengers of the unpredictable. The central city of New Sheath straddles the divide, its palace of Sheogorath, a monument to eccentricity. The Susellam Ardensul, a temple to the good and good enough, hosts rituals where supplicants offer cheese and riddles to appease the prince. Society here is a hierarchy of madness. The Duke of Mania revels in excess, while the Duchess of Dementia plots in whispers. Yet beneath the frivolity lies a profound order, for the Greymark looms eternally, a reminder that even chaos has its seasons. Sheogorath's court is populated by the bizarre, Lyra, the golden saint who tends the prince's wardrobe of living fabrics, Rilmina Veronim, the necromantress, who brews elixirs of forgetfulness, and the countless lesser Daedra, from the baleful Grummites to the scheming heretics. The mad god's own throne room, a cavern of echoing laughter, holds the staff of Sheogorath, a relic that amplifies the bearer's whims to world-shaking proportions. Quests within the Isles often revolve around these elements, such as the retrieval of the Fork of Horripilation, a mundane utensil turned weapon of destiny, underscoring Sheogorath's humor in the mundane. As the Third Era waned, the hero of Kivach, fresh from sealing the Oblivion gates, was summoned to the Isles. Tasked with becoming the champion of madness, they navigated the Greymark, allying with the Prink. This event, chronicled in the Shivering Isles, marks a pivotal shift, suggesting that the mad god's essence can inhabit the mortal coil, blending divine and human folly. Philosophers in the imperial city have since speculated on the implications. Does Sheogorath's survival mean that madness is the true order of the Orbis? The Sygic monk, Wafimelis, wrote, In the mad god's mirror, we see our own reflections, distorted yet true. Indeed, encounters with Sheogorath often leave mortals changed, their perceptions forever altered by glimpses of the infinite jest. The echoes of the Greymark reverberate through time, a symphony of shattering crystals and reborn folly that defines the Shivering Isles' eternal rhythm. Jiggalig's form, tall and austere in robes of purest white, marches with legions of crystalline knights, their blades etching perfect lines across the chaotic landscape. Each Greymark purges the isles, reducing Mania's vibrant spires to geometric ruins and dimensions. Yet, from this desolation rises Sheogorath anew, often from the form of a mortal champion or a humble cheesewheel, laughing as the curse recoils upon itself. This rebirth is no mere resurrection, it is a transformation, where the prince's essence scatters like confetti across the realm, reassembling in unpredictable guises. Scholars who have braved the Isles' archives, such as the elusive Ginas of the Temple of the One, describe this as the ultimate jest, a divine prank that mocks the very concept of finality. Delving into Sheogorath's interactions with Tamriel's heroes reveals patterns of profound irony. In the Second Era, during the Interregnum's chaos, the Vestige encountered the mad god in Coldharbour's depths, where he offered cryptic aid against Molag Bal, turning the Prince of Domination's own traps against him with a wave of the Wobbage. Butterflies swarmed the void, and chains melted into strings of pearls, illustrating Sheogorath's ability to subvert even tea. Pelagius Septime III, that tragic ruler whose reign ended in confinement, became a vessel for the mad god's whims. His Wobajak forged anger, transmuted into a lesson on the folly of unchecked ambition. "Anger is a short madness," Sheogorath quipped, his voice a whirlwind of mirth, as the Dragonborn navigated the twisted corridors of Pelagia's psyche, confronting manifestations of fear, confidence, and rage. These encounters underscore a recurring theme. Sheogorath does not merely observe mortal strife, he orchestrates it, using heroes as instruments in his symphony of absurdity. The Nerevarine, in Morrowind's ash-choked wastes, received a summons to the Clockwork City, where Sothasil's mechanical paradise intersected with the mad god's realm in a glitch of realities. There, amidst ticking gears and illusory feasts, the prince gifted the artifact known as the mad god's staff, a lesser echo of the Wobajak, that turned Dwemer automatons into dancing jesters. Beyond personal tales, Sheogorath's influence permeates cultural artifacts across Tamriel. The 16 Accords of Madness, those enigmatic volumes, serve as both scripture and satire. Volume 3, The Cheese Sermon, extols dairy as a metaphor for the soul's fluidity. Cheese is the milk of the stars, soft yet enduring, melting under heat but reforming in the cold. Devotees, known as the Order of the Wobajak, perform rituals involving labyrinthine mazes built from provolone and brie, seeking enlightenment through culinary chaos. In Somerset's rigid academies, Ultima scholars dismiss these as vulgar jests, yet secret cabals studied them for insights into the zero-sum realization that reality is a dream one can awaken from, much like Sheogorath's own transcendence. The mad god's festivals punctuate the calendar with gleeful anarchy. The Che Dinhul Cheese Day, held on the 16th of Evening Star, sees Cyrodiil's streets overrun by parades of wheelbarrows laden with wheels of Che. Even the Kaijiat of Elsewhere honor him as Yakajay, the trickster who moons sugar dreams into waking nightmares. Their caravans bearing trinkets from the Isles, forks that whisper secrets, hats that grant invisibility to the boring. Yet, for all his levity, Sheogorath harbors depths of sorrow. Legends speak of his lost love, the unnamed muse who inspired the first Greymark, her death cursing him to eternal duality. In the Isle's deepest grottos, where the shivering winds howl laments, echoes of her voice plead for release. This vulnerability humanizes the divine, suggesting that madness stems not from caprice alone, but from grief's unyielding grip. As the hero of Kuvach ascended to mantle the prince, they inherited not just power, but this poignant burden, a reminder that even gods fracture under the weight of eternity. Transitioning from these mortal intersections, the Shivering Isles' ecology deserves exploration, for it is a living embodiment of Sheogorath's mind. The realm's magic is equally spells here draw from mania for explosive creativity or dementia for insidious decay, often backfiring in hilarious awe. The Staff of the Grove, hidden in the howling halls, amplifies these forces, allowing wielders to reshape the land, turning rivers to cheese or skies to confetti. During the Greymark, this magic inverts, enforcing Jiggalog's order with beams of crystalline stasis that petrify the chaotic. Inhabitants' daily lives revolve around appeasing the prince. In New Sheogorath's markets, vendors hawk madness orbs, fragile spheres that burst into illusions upon shattering. The Gnarl Collective, a band of feral golden saints, roams the wilds, enforcing the mad god's edicts with gleeful violence. Dark seducers, their armored counterparts, scheme in Dementia's courts, their loyalty as fickle as the tides. Children rare in Oblivion are born from the realm's whims, little imps who age backward, gaining wisdom as they shrink. The palace of Sheogorath itself is a labyrinth of wonders, halls where gravity reverses at whim, dining rooms serving endless banquets of shadow food that nourishes the soul alone. The throne, carved from a single vein of laughing stone, hums with the prince's residual mirth. Attendants, like the chamber pot enthusiast Thadden or the jester refined mind, provide comic relief, their antics scripted by the mad god to test visitors' sanity. As the veil between Mundus and the Isles thins during certain conjunctions like the blood moon or the warp in the west portals flicker open, spilling mad influences into In 3E417, during the warp, Sheogorath's touch warped Iliac-based geography, birthing islands of cheese that sank under their own weight. Such events remind mortals that the mad god's reach extends beyond his realm, a thread in the greater weave of tea. In the Librarium of the Mad, a mythical archive said to exist in the Isles' underbelly, tomes detail alliances and rivalries that span eons. Sheogorath's feud with Hermaeus Mora, the Prince of Knowledge, is legendary. The demon of knowledge hoards secrets in apocryphous tentacles, while the mad god scatters them like confetti, turning profound truths into punchlines. During the soulburst of 2E582, when Manimarco's necromantic hordes clashed with the Vestige, Sheogorath intervened by flooding the battlefield with illusory cheese golems, which exploded into swarms of angry bees upon defeat. This caper not only thwarted the necromancer but also inspired the Wabbaja Covenant, a loose pact among Dedra, to curb excessive order though. Filthmongers and Vermina's nightmare weaver often twisted to their own ends. Sheogorath's affinity for the mortal races manifests in peculiar patronages. Among the Nords, he is Shor's jester, a chaotic echo of the trickster Low. Elven perspectives very starkly. The Altmer of Somerset views Sheogorath as a perversion of Auriel's perfection, a crystal fracture that tests the Psychic Endeavor's meditative calm. Yet, during the Thalmor purges, hidden Crystal Tower scholars consulted his oracles for visions of chaotic rebellion, glimpsing paths to overthrow their own rigid hierarchy. The Bosmer of Valenwood embrace him as YFFRE's wild counterpart, incorporating shivering rites into the Green Pact. Hunters who fail their kills are cursed to become tree beasts. Their madness a lesson in nature's caprice. Dunmer Ashlanders, scarred by the Red Year, whisper of Sheogorath as Bothiah's mad cousin, a force that shattered the tribunal's false divinity, allowing Azura's star to shine anew through Vivardenfell's ruins. Even the beastfolk revere him in their ways. Orcish strongholds in the Rothgarian mountains host Malakaths, folly nights, where warriors don jester masks and duel with foam weapons, mocking. Artifacts of the mad god litter Tamriel, like forgotten jokes. The spear of bitter mercy, once wielded in the Isles' arenas, finds its way to Anvil's Fighters Guild, where it poisons with laughter rather than venom. The ring of disrobing, a trinket from Nushiet's Spasmos, has caused scandals in the imperial city's courts, stripping nobles of dignity and attire at inopportune moments. These relics, infused with shivering essence, often activate during moments of stifled emotion, forcing catharsis through absurdity. As the Third Era closed with the Septim bloodline's end, Sheogorath's shadow loomed larger. The Anvil of the Void, Kagranak's folly in the heart of Lorcan, resonated with the mad god's domain, birthing the Numidium as a colossus of enforced villainy, for Sheogorath's subtle sabotage to infuse it with erratic glitches, ensuring the brass gods walks through time, sowed seeds of madness in every culpa. In the Fifth Era's dawning uncertainties, prophecies from the hero of Kevach, as the new Sheogorath, carries this legacy, pondering if mortality's fleeting joys are the true antidote to eternal folly. As the shivering winds carry his sigh across the void, one wonders, in the mad god's grand theatre, are we the audience, the actors, or the punchline? Transitioning now to the heart of his realm, The Shivering Isles unfold in all their bifurcated splendor, a landscape where the very ground pulses with the prince's erratic heartbeat. The Shivering Isles' geography defies the mortal compass, a realm where maps redraw themselves with each dawn. From the northern peaks of the fetid grove, where trees exhale perfumes of rot and rapture, to the southern mires of the howling halls, where echoes compose symphonies of sorrow, every inch pulses with contrived contradiction. The spine, a jagged ridge, bisecting mania and dementia, serves as the realm's nervous system, its caverns riddled with veins of madstone, a mineral that induces visions. Rivers like the blissflow meander through mania, their waters sparkling with effervescent joy that lifts drinkers into euphoric flight, only to deposit them in dementia's sorrow bog, where immersion drowns the spirit in melancholic quicksand. Bridges of woven bone span these divides, guarded by the bone-walkers, skeletal sentinels who recite limericks to passers-by, their jaws clacking in rhythmic verse. Travelers' accounts, preserved in the rare volumes smuggled from the Isles, paint vivid portraits of this ever-shifting terrain. The explorer, Rebeda, a Kaijiate cartographer who barely escaped with his sanity, described the Shiver Peaks mountain ranges that quake with laughter, avalanching boulders shaped like grinning faces. In the lowlands, fields of razorgrass sway to an invisible wind, slicing the unwary while tickling the fortunate with silken whispers. Wildlife thrives in this bedlam. Packs of shocks, scaled hounds with tongues of flame, hunt in manic frenzy's thigh. These phenomena, chronicled by the Isle's own historians, like the Duchess of Dementia in her tomes of torment, underscore the realm's impermanence, a deliberate design to prevent stagnation. Inhabitants navigate this flux with adapted customs. The Golden Saints, ethereal warriors born from Sheogorath's brighter moods, patrol mania's borders with halberds of solidified light, their chants invoking barriers against Gigolog's encroaching crystals. Clad in auric plate that shifts colors with their emotions, they embody fierce loyalty, yet harbor a secret fondness for pranks and bushing intruders with pies of explosive custard. Their counterparts, the dark seducers, slink through dementias, fogs in obsidian mail, daggers dripping with paralytic honey. Seductive and sadistic, they lure victims with illusions of lost loves, only to betray them in orgies of betrayal. Their laughter, a silken venom that lingers in the soul. Lesser denizens form the Isle's motley underbelly. Grummet. The Electra flit above their kitness wings, iridescent mosaics of eyes and mouths, delivering missives etched on fragile scrolls that dissolve after reading. Heretics, mortal souls trapped in Daedric forms, wander as beggars or prophets, preaching sermons that blend heresy with hilarity, like the Gospel of the Gouda, which posits cheese as the eighth divinity. New Sheoth, the capital astride the divide, is a microcosm of madness. Its upper district, Bliss, cascades down mania's slopes in terraces of crystal and candy, where nobles host balls in halls of mirrored madness, reflections multiplying guests into infinite revelries. The lower quarter, Crucible, burrows into dementia's earth like a festering wound, its alleys labyrinthian, warrens lit by bioluminescent fungi that whispered doubts. The palace of Sheogorath crowns the city, a sprawling edifice of mismatched architecture. Towers of gingerbread lean against spires of thorns, and the throne room's floor is a mosaic of shattered hourglasses, time spilling like sand from their wounds. Here, the mad god holds court, surrounded by sycophants like the chamberlain Sheogorath's jester, who juggles flaming skulls while reciting courtly faux pas. Daily life in New Sheoth revolves around the madness calendar, a almanac of festivals decreed by the prince. The fork of the month celebrates the mundane elevated to myth, with processions bearing oversized utensils that duel in choreographed ballets. The Wabberjack Wake mourns no one in particular, a parade of mock funerals where participants rise from graves of silk to join the dance. Commerce thrives in the bazaars. Alchemists peddle elixir of eccentricity, potions that swap senses sight for sound, taste for touch, while armorers forge chainmail of chuckles, links that giggle under stress. Taverns serve shivering ale, a brew that induces temporary lycanthropy into harmless rabbits, fostering brawls that end in hoppity chases. Yet, beneath the revelry lurks the Greymark's shadow. Scouts report crystalline incursions from the north, Gigolog's harbingers manifesting as frost-kissed obelisks that enforce silence on the land. Preparations involve the rite of renewal, where artisans craft effigies of order straight lines and right angles to smash in cathartic ceremonies, their fragments seeded to regrow as chaotic vines. The Duke and Duchess, perennial rivals, unite in these times, their courts blending in uneasy alliances, plotting defenses with maps drawn in invisible ink that reveals itself under moonlight madness. The Isle's underbelly harbors forbidden lore. In the House of Dementia, catacombs hold the Codex of Curses, scrolls detailing the prince's pact against Sheogorath, penned in blood that never dries. Adjacent, the Mania Wings library of laughter stacks, volumes that read themselves aloud in voices of the dead, reciting jests that unraveled the reader's sanity thread by thread. Access requires solving the mad god's riddles, like what walks on 4 legs at noon, 2 at midnight, and flies at dusk. The answer, a chicken enchanted by cheese, granting passage or peril. As the realm's heart beats on, it draws the curious and the cursed from months. Portals yawn open during eclipses or mad moons, swallowing adventurers whole. Those who return speak of enlightenments double-edged, visions that birth genius or gibbering. In the Psychic Order's hidden enclaves, seers meditate on these tales, positing the Shivering Isles as a crucible for the soul, forging madness into wisdom's blade. With the enigma of the mad god and his realm laid bare, we turn now to the pivotal cycles that define their existence. The Grey Mark and its shattering rebirths. The Grey Mark descends like a pall of perfect silence upon the Shivering Isles, a seasonal apocalypse where the vibrant chaos yields to Sheogorath's inexorable tide, born from the Dawn Era's divine malediction. This event marks the zenith of Order's assault, transforming the mad god's paradise into a monochrome mausoleum of symmetry. Crystalline spires erupt from the soil, their facets reflecting an unyielding grid that devours color and curve alike. The skies, once a riot of swirling auroras, flattened to slate gray, and the winds cease their shivering song, leaving only the monotone hum of enforced harmony. Inhabitants, from the haughty golden saints to the lowly mites, feel the pull of stasis, their thoughts straightening into rigid patterns, creativity calcifying into catatonia. This is no mere storm. It is the universe's stern reminder that even madness has its antithesis, a force as primordial as the mad god himself. Sheogorath emerges at the cycle's cusp, his form a towering paragon of precision, robes of flawless alabaster draped over a frame etched with geometric runes, eyes like polished diamonds that pierce illusion without mercy. Flanked by the Knights of Order, ethereal warriors armored in faceted crystal, he marches from the northern fringes, their footfalls synchronized to an unheard metronome. These knights, manifestations of pure logic, wield blades that sever not flesh but anomaly, slicing through the fabric of whimsy to impose fractal perfection. Legends claim Sheogorath was once the most revered among the his realm a bastion of clarity, where secrets unfolded in logical arrays, envied by siblings who feared his dominion over the orb's underpinnings. The curse, woven by the collective will of the other princes, perhaps led by the jealous Hermaeus Mora, or the vengeful Bothai, twisted this virtue into vice, binding him to become his opposite at the moment of triumph. The march begins subtly, whispers of uniformity infiltrate dreams, compelling artists to paint in straight lines and musicians to play scales without variation. In New Sheogorath, the palace's eccentric towers align into boring rectangles, its throne dissolving into a pedestal of plain stone. The Duke of Mania, ever the exuberant host, finds his feasts reduced to identical portions, laughter choked into coughs of conformity. The Duchess of Dementia, mistress of subtle torments, watches her plots unravel into predictable sequences, her spies reporting the same banal intelligence. As Sheogorath advances, the land reshapes. Mania's flamestalks straighten into uniform reeds. Dementia's bleeding trees prune themselves into hedgerows of exactitude. The Elytra's wings fold into geometric patterns, grounding them as they metamorphose into orderly moths. Resistance flares in pockets of defiance. Pockets of mad loyalists, branded obsidian rifts, form guerrilla bands, hurling wobbejack volleys that polymorph knights into jesters. The hero of Kavach, in their tenure as Sheogorath's man, rallied these forces during the fateful Grey Mark of 3E 433, forging alliances with unlikely allies, a chorus of shocks enchanted to sing dissonant anthems, and swarms of gloomweed spores that induce rebellious hallucinations. Battles rage across the spine. where crystal meets chaos in clashes that shatter reality. Nights strikes birthing fractal flowers, only for them to wither under Order's gaze. The air thickens with the scent of ozone and absurdity. As spells collide, Jiggalog's stasis beams, freezing foes in poses of perpetual punchlines. At the cycle's nadir, Jiggalig storms the palace, confronting the incumbent Sheogorath in a duel of essences. The mad god, often disguised in mortal guise to savor the drama, wields the wobberjack with theatrical flair, zapping the Prince of Order into forms of escalating ridicule. A flock of geese, a tower of cheese, a chorus line of dancing skeletons. Yet, inevitability claims its due, as Jiggalig reasserts form. Sheogorath succumbs, his laughter fading to a sigh as the curse activates. The realm falls silent, a perfect lattice where even echoes conform to symmetry. Jiggalig reigns briefly, his victory hollow, for the malediction recoils, unraveling his being into the seed of madness that will bloom anew. From this desolation sprouts the rebirth, the shivering that heralds Sheogorath's return. A single point of anomaly, a misplaced curve, a errant giggle ignites the reversal. Crystals crack with peals of thunderous mirth, landscapes convulsing as color floods back in tidal waves. Mania erupts in fireworks of flora, dementia's shadows twisting into baroque grotesques. The Knights of Order dissolve into confetti, reforming as the prince's court. Saints and seducers reborn with amnesiac glee. Sheogorath manifests, often from the form of the cycle's champion. His first act, a proclamation of festivity to exorcise the lingering chill of order. Let the games begin anew. He bellows, and the isles shiver in ecstatic response, winds howling with renewed caprice. This cycle, eternal yet variable in duration spanning years or mere months, imparts profound lessons to observers. Mortals who witness it, rare survivors of the gates, return to Tamriel with fractured minds, their tales inspiring cults like the Marchers of Madness, who simulate greymarks in ritual fasts of boredom, followed by orgies of excess. In Cyrodiil's universities, divine scholars analyze it as a metaphor for the Kalpic wheel, where each era's order crumbles to birth the next chaos, echoing the tower's rise and fall. The Psychics, ever enigmatic, view it as a barrier to the wheel's spokes, a divine jest preventing full enlightenment. Variations abound in lore. Some accounts posit multiple greymarks per triggered by cosmic alignments like the dragon break of the Middle Dawn, when Sheogorath's realm overlapped with Akatosh's domain, birthing hybrid events where time ordered itself into mad loops. In the Fourth Era, during the Great War's chaos, whispers suggest a mini-march afflicted the Isles, Jiggalog's influence seeping through to turning Whiterun's markets into temporary grids of stalled commerce before. Sheogorath's counterjest flooded them with illusory livestock. The Greymark's artifacts emerge from its ruins, shards of order glass, mirrors that reflect only truths one wishes to avoid, or crystal whistles that summon echoes of silence to stifle arguments. These relics find their way to Mundus via opportunistic traders, like the Skooma Cat Guild's smuggling rings, who hawk them as novelties that cure boredom permanently. As the cycle perpetuates, it binds the Shivering Isles society in vigilant eccentricity. Festivals anticipate the march, with Prishiva plays enacting mock conquests where actors playing Jiggalig are pelted with rotten fruit until they surrender to laughter. Children learn rhymes warning of the Prince of Order, grey calm. Yet, the breaking of the curse in 3E 433 altered the paradigm. With Jiggalig freed to roam, Oblivion's the Greymark no longer consumes the Isles entirely, manifesting instead as wandering expeditions where the Prince of Order seeks new domains to systematize, be it a forgotten, allied ruin or a thieves' guild hideout. Sheogorath, reveling in this liberty, now orchestrates countermarches, invasions of Jiggalog's crystalline voids with armies of absurdity, turning perfection back to pandemonium. This evolution suggests the mad god's triumph. Yet loremasters caution that balance endures without order's threat. Madness might stagnate into its own form of routine. In the wake of these cycles, the Shivering Isles stand resilient, a beacon of beautiful bedlam in Oblivion's vastness. The Greymark, for all its terror, fertilizes the soil of creation, ensuring that Sheogorath's domain remains the Orbis' wild heart, pulsing with the promise of endless, enchanting insanity. The implications of the Greymark extend far beyond the Shivering Isles, threading through the fabric of Mundus like veins of crystalline madness. During the Middle Dawn's dragon break, when time fractured under the new medium's tread, Jiggalog's influence seeped into Niran, imposing pockets of unnatural order amid the temporal chaos. In the fractured epochs of the First Era, entire battalions of Alessian legions marched in perfect lockstep, their formations too precise to be mortal, only to shatter into hysterical roots as Sheogorath's counterforce rippled through. Chroniclers like the battle mage Casta Scribonia, in her Annals of Anomaly, recount how the mad gods Lao.
This intrusion birthed the Order echoes, lingering anomalies where regions briefly calcify, rivers flowing in straight lines, forests aligning in Gridsby for the shivering winds restore caprice. In the Second Era's turbulence, the Greymark's shadow fell upon the Alliance War, where Sheogorath, amused by the mortal squabbles, amplified Jiggalog's curse to confound the combatants. At the Battle of the Alliance Gates, crystalline barriers erupted around Cyrodiil's borders, forcing armies into symmetrical sieges that devolved into absurd standoffs. Catapults launching identical volleys that curved back upon themselves. Soldiers compelled to salute in unison until exhaustion. The vestige, that enigmatic wanderer, confronted manifestations of the princes in the Planamelt's heart, where Sheogorath gifted a Greymark shard that polymorphed Molag Bal's anchors into harmless prisms, refracting domination into
This event, detailed in the Vestige's visions, posits the cycle as a cosmic regulator, preventing any single force Daedric or mortal from achieving unchallenged hegemony. The Third Era witnessed the Greymark's most intimate intersection with Tamriel's fate during the Oblivion crisis. As Maroon's Dagon's gates yawned wide, Jiggalog's ordered legions clashed with the Daedra of destruction in Oblivion's borderlands, their crystalline phalanxes grinding infernal hordes into geometric dust. Sheogorath, ever the opportunist, exploited this fray by funneling his own forces through the chaos, turning Dagon's fireballs into fireworks of folly that lit the skies over The hero of Kivach, navigating this pandemonium, received a summons to the Isles not as escape, but as crucible, the Greymark unfolding concurrently with the crisis, demanding they defend against Jiggaleg, while sealing Mundu's wounds. In the palace's besieged halls, the champion wielded the Wobberjack against waves of knights, each victory birthing new Absplitizinomies, transmuting into choirs of singing cheesewheels that demoralized the ordered ranks with off-key odes to entropy. Post-cursed, the Greymark evolved into nomadic incursions, Jiggaleg wandering Oblivion as a peripatetic purger, his path unpredictable as a madman's whim. In 4E201, during Skyrim's dragon resurgence, reports from the College of Winterhold describe crystal storms sweeping the Sea of Ghosts, freezing ships in perfect formations only for Sheogorath's intervention to melt them into flotillas of floating teapots. The Dragonborn, attuned to shouts of power, encountered the prince in Pelagius Wing, where echoes of the march manifested as mental constructs, corridors of symmetry patrolled by spectral knights, shattered by thumb-infused jests that echoed the Wobberjack's zap. This encounter, woven into the Skyrim sagas, reveals the cycle's adaptability, now a tool in the Mad God's arsenal to humble overreaching Devakian or meddling Thalmor agents. Cultural reverberations manifest in Tamriel's arts and superstitions. Breton troubadours compose march ballads, dirges that mimic the knight's march before exploding into manic refrains, performed at Wayrest's courts to ward off bureaucratic tedium. In Elswere's moonlit caravans, Kaijiot, shamans invoke Yagre, a dual aspect of Sheogorath, crafting sugar-sculpted obelisks that they shatter under the Akajay, to invite chaotic dreams. Argonian histories in black marsh pulse with memories of a swamp march, where Jiggalog's influence straightened the roots into unnatural lattice, only for the sap's madness to twist them into labyrinthine canopies that birthed the Shadowscale orders. Even the rigid Dunmer of Morrowind, in their post-Red Year diaspora, incorporate Greymark motifs into ancestor worship, viewing it as Azura's subtle hand, balancing tribunal hubris with enforced reflection. Artifacts born from these bleatovers litter the continent like punchlines to unfinished jokes. The Jiggalog's compass, a relic from a fractured Greymark, points not north, but to the nearest source of boredom, guiding seekers to taverns or libraries ripe for disruption. Smuggled to the imperial city, it sparked the compass riots of 3E400, where nobles followed its needle into absurd escapades, toppling the elder council's staid debates with parades of mismatched footwear. The Shiverblade, a sword forged from a knight's shattered pauldron, hums with latent order, straightening the wielder's posture and aimed to superhuman precision and till Sheogorath's curse triggers, causing it to dance wildly in the user's grasp, carving sigils of silliness into foes. Prophets and seers divine future marches from tea leaves stained with madness or foretelling intersections with greater cataclysms. The moth priests of the white gold tower, in their sun-kissed trances, glimpse a final march where Jiggaleg assaults the towers themselves, imposing order on the wheel's spokes, only for Sheogorath to counter with a culpus-banning jest that reboots creation in hues of hilarity. Such visions fuel apocalyptic cults like the Order Breakers, who fast in geometric patterns to attune to the cycle, emerging as evangelists of eccentricity across Hammerfall's dunes. The Greymark's psychological toll on participants is profound, forging psyches tempered in duality. Golden Saints, reformed post-march, exhibit flashes of crystalline clarity amid their fervor, allowing tactical genius in battle. Dark seducers gain an edge of calculated cruelty, their seductions laced with inexorable logic that ensnares minds before the strike. Mortals who endure it, like the rare survivors of the hero's quests, return as shiverwalkers, wanderers whose eyes reflect fractured realities, speaking in riddles that unravel social norms. In Solitude's Bard's College, such figures are revered as muses, their tales inspiring epics that blend tragedy with farce. Yet, for all its devastation, the Greymark renews the Shivering Isles' essence, pruning the overgrowth of routine to let fresh madness bloom. Without this forge, the realm might ossify into predictable pandemonium, losing the spark that defines Sheogorath's allure. As Jiggaleg roams free, his encounters with the mad god evolve into duels of philosophy, debates in neutral voids where order argues for stability's peace and chaos retorts with vitality's fire. These clashes, witnessed by lesser Edgar, birth hybrid realms, pockets of oblivion where symmetry curves into spirals, a testament to the prince's eternal tension. In contemplating these cycles, one discerns the deeper wisdom of the Orbis, balanced not through harmony, but through opposition's dance. The Greymark ensures that Sheogorath's domain and, by extension, the dream of Mundus remains dynamic, a canvas ever splashed with the colors of the unforeseen, as the shivering winds carry echoes of laughter over crystal. With the rhythms of chaos and order illuminated, we now explore the mortal encounters that bridge the Shivering Isles to Tamriel's storied heroes, delving into quests, legacies, and the enduring madness that lingers in the wake of divine jests. The Shivering Isles, though a realm of divine caprice, has ensnared countless mortals in its web, drawing heroes, fools, and scholars into Sheogorath's grand theatre of absurdity. From the Merethic nomads who first stumbled through shivering portals to the Fourth Era's dragons, these encounters form the living lore of the mad god, tales etched in madness, or and whispered in asylums across Tamriel. Each summoning, each quest, serves as a thread in the tapestry, binding Mundus to oblivion in knots of enlightenment and lunacy. To unravel these stories is to trace the prince's influence on the heroes who shaped eras, revealing how the seducer of order uses mortals not as pawns, but as co-conspirators in the cosmic jest. The earliest recorded mortal ingress dates to the Merethic era, when Atmora's ice wanderers, fleeing the wild hunts of Iskrimer, encountered the gates of madness along the Sea of Ghosts. Legends in the poetic Edda speak of frost-mad seers, shamans who crossed into mania, returning with eyes of mismatched hue and prophecies of cheese-forged empires. These visionaries founded the first Sheogorath cults in Skyrim's burrows, their rites involving mead, laced with Eild's pollen that induced visions of the grave, foretelling the Nord's own cycles of raid and repose. One such seer, the unnamed jester of Gilkirth, is said to have gifted Iskrimer a wobberjack splinter, which turned a farmer ambush into a flock of harmless snow hares, allowing the 500 companions safe passage south. In the First Era's Forge of Empires, Sheogorath's touch graced the Alessian doctrine's upheavals. During the War of the First Council, as Dwemer's steam clashed with Chimmer sorcery, the mad god summoned the battle mage Zurin Arctus to his court, tasking him with a riddle: what binds the heart yet frees the soul? The answer, a cheese wheel enchanted with dragon's blood, became the prototype for the Amulet of Kings, its mad infusion ensuring the Septim line's resilience against ordered tyranny. Arctus, forever altered, wove shivering motifs into the mantling of Tiber Septim, where the general's conquests echoed the Greymark's march, imposing new chaos upon the empire's birth. The Second Era's interregnum amplified these threads, with a vestige serving. Later, in the Markarth incident, Sheogorath infiltrated the Reachman's rituals, polymorphing Sidna Mine's prisoners into a menagerie that overthrew the birthing the Forsworn's wild sovereignty. These interventions, chronicled in the Vestiges' mad missives, portrayed the prince as a liberator of the oppressed, using absurdity to topple chains of convention. The Third Era's tapestry bears the deepest imprints of Sheogorath's mortal dalliance, none more vivid than the hero of Kvatch's odyssey into the Shivering Isles, amid the Oblivion Crisis's inferno, as Maroon's Dagon's legions scorched Temerals, a summons pierced the chaos, a quest to maintain a humble statue in Bravel's meadow, its waters running dry under an inexplicable curse. The hero, battle-weary from sealing gates and slaying Deadroth, followed the trail to Niben Bay's shivering mists, where the gates of madness yawned like a jester's grin. Crossing the threshold, they entered a realm of bifurcated wonder, mania's golden spires clashing with dementia's thorny gloom, the air humming with the prince's distant chuckle. Sheogorath, lounging upon a throne of writhing vines, greeted the intruder with riddles wrapped in whimsy. "Ah, a new plaything for the board," he purred, his mismatched eyes twinkling like faulty stars. Tasked as the champion of the Isles, the hero navigated New Sheoth's divided courts, allying with the flamboyant Duke of Mania and the brooding Duchess of Dementia in a web of intrigue that mirrored Cyrodiil's own fractured politics. Quests unfolded in layers of absurdity, retrieving the fork of harapilation from a golden saint's reluctant grasp, a rusty utensil that felled Dedra with comical inefficiency, brewing elixirs in the House of Malice, where ingredients danced away and storming the howling halls to silence a chorus of wailing ghosts that harmonized forgotten sorrows. As the grey mark loomed, the realm's colors bled to grey, Jiggalog's legions marching in crystalline unison. The hero, armed with the Wobbajack's capricious might, led the defense-sapping knights into swarms of butterflies or puddles of custard, their ordered ranks dissolving in peals of unintended laughter. In the palace's climactic fray, Sheogorath revealed the curse's truth, and the hero shattered it, freeing Jiggalog to wander Oblivion while ascending as the new mad god. This mantle, a blend of mortal resolve and divine folly, echoed through the Septime Empire's fall, the hero's lingering influence manifesting in the White Gold Tower's subtle shivers, where council debates occasionally devolved into spontaneous sonnets. The Fourth Era wove further threads, with the Dragonborn of Skyrim ensnared in Solitude's blue palace, disguised as Pelagius the mad Sheogorath, beckoned the Davakian into the Emperor's tormented mindscape, a pocket of the Isles folded into memory. There, amidst floating isles of regret, the hero confronted Pelagius' demons, nightmares of paranoia, a monstrous anger that roared with imperial fury, a timid fear that shrank from shadows. Armed with the Wobbajack, bestowed by the prince's spectral hand, the Dragonborn transmuted these afflictions, turning the beast to a wheel of cheese, banishing paranoia with bursts of confetti dragons. "Madness has many flavors," Sheogorath mused, his voice a whirlwind through the ether, but none so sweet as a Septime's folly. Victory freed Pelagius' ghost, granting the hero the Staff of Magnus and a glimpse of the mad god's eternal game, where even dragonfire bends to jest. These encounters ripple outward, birthing legacies in Tamriel's cultures. The hero of Kvatch inspired the Kvatch Madcaps, a guild of jesters who roam Cyrodiil, using minor Wobbajack charms to disrupt Thalmor inquisitions with harmless hallucinations. In Skyrim, bards immortalize the Dragonborn's trial in the Pelagius polka, a tune that induces giggles in listeners, warding against the dragon's grim roars. Scholars in the Arcane University pore over smuggled tomes, debating if these mortals were chosen for their proximity to Chim, that state where one dreams the dream. Awake Sheogorath's ultimate riddle. Beyond heroes, common folk tangle in the web. In 4E48, during the Great War's prelude, a Bravel farmer named Joffrey's kin stumbled through a fleeting portal, emerging with a satchel of flamestalk seeds that revolutionized Cyrodiil's agriculture, yielding crops that grew in impossible shapes, vines, spelling prophecies in the fields. Argonian refugees from the Anzalil purges found sanctuary in Dementia's bogs, adopting Grummit rites to resist domination, their shadow-scale kin now wielding forks of horripilation in guerrilla strikes. Sheogorath's summons often target the broken, mad prophets in High Rock's asylums, where the prince appears in mirrors, offering clarity through chaos, or Elswere's moon sugar addicts, whose visions bridge to the Isles. smuggling back elixirs that cure Skuma's grip with doses of enlightened eccentricity. These threads, woven through quests both grand and mundane, affirm the mad god's philosophy: mortals are the spark that ignites Oblivion's dull eternity, their follies the true currency of the divine jest. As these stories fade into legend, the Shivering Isles endure, portals flickering like half-remembered dreams, ever ready to ensnare the next soul in Sheogorath's unending carnival. The Fourth Era's chronicles brim with subtler instruments, where Sheogorath's web catches not just champions but the era's fractured societies. In the wake of the Red Year, Dunmer exiles in Windhelm's Grey Quarter invoked the mad god during the White Gold Concordat's oppressions, their ancestor shrines flickering with shivering lights. A Telvanni mage, disgraced and half-mad, received a vision quest to collect echoes of the tribunal's folly from Morrowind's, manifesting as illusory cheese wheels that, when smashed, revealed hidden paths through the Skyrim blockade. This Ashmad pilgrimage empowered the House of Trouble's devotees, turning Stormcloak patrols into bewildered parades of polymorphed Fosnord warriors, hopping as rabbits, their axes forgotten in the frenzy. Sheogorath's laughter, carried on volcanic winds, mocked the Talos' ban, suggesting the prince viewed divine prohibition as the ultimate jest. Across the seas, in the Somerset Isles' gilded cages, the Thorma's ascendancy drew the mad god's ire. During the void nights of 4E98, when the twin moons vanished and Khajiit society teetered, Sheogorath slipped agents into Alinurelitra, disguised as exotic birds, whispering riddles that unraveled Altmer superiority complexes. A young Psijic initiate, torn between duty and doubt, was summoned to a crystal jest, a pocket realm where she debated Jiggalog's logic against the prince's chaos, emerging with a Wabbajack-imbued amulet that bent Thalmor wards into labyrinths of illusion. This artifact fueled the Altmer Anarchy, a brief uprising where Crystal Tower scholars revolted, their spells backfiring into fireworks that lit the night with defiant colors. Forcing the Dominion to concede minor reforms, beastfolk tales add rustic threads to the web. In Black Marsh's shadowed Histgrove's Argonian tree-minders, during the 4E186 Umbriel crisis, communed with Sheogorath through sapdreams, the mad god manifesting as a giant tree-cat hybrid. He tasked them with rooting the floating city, polymorphing Umbriel's floating isle into a colossal cheese balloon that drifted harmlessly into the void, its eldritch inhabitants tumbling into fits of giggles. This intervention, sung in the Hist's hilarity, solidified Sheogorath's role as protector of the primal, his madness a counter to the Slode's necrotic order. These mortal threads culminate in prophecies of convergence, the shivering prophecy of the Fifth Era scried by moth priests amid the Great Collapse's rumors, foretells a hero who mantles both princes wielding orders blade in chaos dance to avert a culpa's end. Echoes of the hero of Kavoch and Dragonborn suggest this figure nears, portals widening as Alduin's shadow lengthens. In reflection, Sheogorath's web ensnares not to destroy, but to illuminate. Mortals, with their fragile sanity, are the mad god's muses, their quests, the sparks that keep Oblivion's fires whimsical. As the Shivering Isles shiver on, inviting the next foolhardy soul, one truth endures in the grand jest of existence: we are all players in the prince's eternal, enchanting madness. And so, the tale of Sheogorath and the Shivering Isles fades into the mists of myth, yet lingers like a half-remembered dream. From the Dawn Era's curses to the Fifth's uncertainties, the mad god reminds us that reality is but a fragile veil, pierced by the Wabbajack's zap. May your nights be filled with butterflies and cheese, and your days free from Jiggalog's straight lines. Sweet madness to you, wanderer of the dream. As the echoes of Sheogorath's laughter fade into the night's embrace, one might ponder the deeper strata of his domain layers beneath the surface revelry, where the true architecture of madness reveals itself. The Shivering Isles, in their infinite recursion, harbor subrealms, the Underisles, a labyrinthian underside, accessed through wells of weeping crystal in Crucible's depths. Here, forgotten experiments of the mad god play out eternally miniature kalpas, where entire civilizations rise and fall in the span of a sigh. Their history is scripted in cheese-rind manuscripts. Explorers like the lost scholar Tharnius Velvis, whose journal fragments washed up on Vivardenfell's shores, describe societies of sentient cutlery warring over forks of fate, or libraries where books devour readers, regurgitating them as altered authors with swapped identities. These pockets, bleed-overs from the Greymark's incomplete erasures, serve as Sheogorath's private jests, unobserved theatres where Order's remnants twist into novel follies. Venturing into comparative Daedric lore, Sheogorath's uniqueness shines against his siblings' domains. While Cold Harbour's chains bind in eternal torment, and Apocryphous stacks drown in forbidden tomes, the Shivering Isles offer a perverse liberation, madness as therapy, where the soul confronts its absurdities to emerge resilient. Psychic mystics, in their RTM meditations, equate it to the wheel's wobble, a necessary eccentricity, preventing the orbis from grinding to a halt in perfect stasis. Hermaeus Mora covets the Isle's chaotic knowledge, his seekers often lost in mania's mirages, emerging with half-remembered secrets that drive them to found cults like the Tentacle Jesters, who blend forbidden lore with limericks to evade the demon's grasp. Mortal adaptations persist in Tamriel's undercurrent. In the Fifth Era's nascent shadows amid whispers of a new culpus stirring Sheogorath's influence, manifests in mad migrations, waves of eccentricity sweeping regions. Hammerfall's Alicronomads report dune shifting into labyrinths of laughter, unearthing buried Alid ruins where echoes of Pelinal's rage polymorph into harmless harlequins. In High Rock's ever-feuding courts, Werist's intrigue is laced with Wobberjack wards, daggers that turn poison to punch, alliances sealed with riddles that bind more surely than oaths. The Bretons, with their elven blood, seem predisposed, their reachfolk, shamans, invoking the prince as the Glenmoriel's grin, a force that twists Hagraven curses into boons of bizarre beauty. Artifacts continue to surface, harbingers of the mad god's enduring touch. The mantle of mania, a cloak woven from golden Gossamer, grants the wearer euphoric flight, but risks plummeting into depressive dives, mirroring the realm's duality. Discovered in Anvil's smuggling dens post-Great War, it adorned a pirate queen who sacked Thalmor galleons, her crew transformed mid-battle into a flock of seagulls that dive-bombed with precision pranks. The Dementia's diadem, a crown of thorny vines from the Duchess's vaults, amplifies sorrow into strategic melancholy, allowing users to foresee betrayals through tears that crystallize into scrying orbs. Worn by Solstime's Ashlander exiles, it thwarted a Sixth House Remnants plot, their visions revealing hidden Hearthstone caches that rebuilt Raven Rock's forges. Prophetic cycles hint at escalation. The Elder Scroll of Shivers, a fragment glimpsed by the last Dragonborn in Blackreach's depths, unrolls visions of a universal Greymark, where Jiggalog's order engulfs the towers, straightening the spires into a mundane monolith. Sheogorath counters with a Wobberjack reckoning, zapping the Orbis into a multiverse of maybe's realities, branching into infinite absurdities. From cheese-ruling empires to cults like the Islebound, scattered from solitude to Central, prepare through Shiva vigils, nights of enforced symmetry, broken by ecstatic dancers. In the broader Elder Scrolls mythos, Sheogorath embodies the Enantiomorph's mad sibling, where Lorkhan's trickery birthed the world. The mad god's jests sustain it, preventing the dreamer from waking in boredom. Comparisons to other tricksters, Scythis, Void Whispers, or Satykal's serpent sheddings, underscore his role as entropy's entertainer, ensuring change delights rather than devours. Even in the Amaranth's distant dreams, loremasters speculate his isles as a subgradient, a playful pocket where the godhead chuckles at its own creation. For the lore enthusiast adrift in Tamriel's seas of story, Sheogorath offers solace in a world of prophecies and perils. Madness is the ultimate rebellion, a reminder that joy lurks in the unexpected, as the Wobberjack hums in some hidden hand, ready to zap the mundane into marvel. May your path through the Isles be one of enlightened folly. Rest now, for the Greymark waits for no one but the laughter. Ah, the laughter echoes forever, delving into the tangible echoes of Sheogorath's realm. One encounters the artifacts, those whimsical weapons, trinkets, and tomes that bridge the veil between Mundus and madness, smuggled through flickering portals or bartered from sly Daedra. These items carry the prince's capricious essence, often blessing wielders with genius or cursing them with giggles at inopportune moments. Far from mere curios, they embody the Isle's duality, tools of creation born from destruction. Order's shards reforged in folly's fire. Collectors in the imperial city's Undercroft or Markarth's Dwemer vaults hoard them, whispering of their powers while fearing the mad god's watchful eye. Foremost among these is the Wobberjack itself, Sheogorath's signature staff, a gnarled branch of petrified flamestalk, topped with a grinning skull that shifts expressions like a courtier's mood, crafted in the Dawn era, from a splinter of Lorkhan's heart twisted by the prince's jest. It defies categorization, a Daedric artifact unbound by rules. It strikes, unleashing polymorphic pandemonium. Zap a foe, and they might bloom into a sweet troll swarm or a hulking minotaur. Aim at a tree, and it sprouts cheese wheels ripe for harvest. The hero of Kuvach wielded a facsimile during the Greymark, its zaps turning Jiggalog's knights into a symphony of absurdity, skeletal dancers, exploding pumpkins, even a flock of illusory doves that pecked at crystalline armor until it shattered like fine porcelain. Legends claim the true Wabbajack resides in the palace's throne, guarded by the jester, who juggles lesser replicas to confound thieves. In Tamriel, echoes manifest as Wabbajack wands, minor staves peddled in Bravel's black markets, their effects diluted to harmless pranks, turning ale to vinegar or locks to licorice twists. Yet, overuse invites the zap backlash, where the user becomes the jest, polymorphing into a frog for a fortnight, croaking riddles to bemused companions. Complementing the staff is the fork of horripilation, a deceptively mundane utensil, rustier than a beggar's pan, its tines bent like a drunkard's grin. Bestowed upon the hero as a grand weapon against the Knights of Order, it deals infinitesimal damage scarcely. A pinpricket slays Dedra with ironic efficiency, each jab eliciting peals of pained laughter from the afflicted. Forged in Mania's forges from a fallen star's ironic alloy, it symbolizes the mad god's disdain for martial pomp. Why swin? Mortals who claim one, like the Dragonborn's ill-fated sidekick in a Skyrim tavern tale, find it cursed to attract vermin rats with impeccable table manners that steal bites mid-malore to straighten. Spontaneously during the full moon, mimicking Jiggalog's touch, the ring of disrobing, a sly bauble of twisted gold and dementia thorns, embodies the prince's penchant for exposure, both literal and metaphorical. Slipping it on compels the wearer to shed inhibitions and occasionally garments, revealing hidden truths or embarrassing secrets in a haze of euphoric compulsion. Originating from a duchess's boudoir prank on an overweening duke, it once stripped the Thalmor ambassador in Alinor's grand hall, unveiling not flesh but forged documents that toppled aspiring. Its power wanes with resistance, turning inward to disrobe the mind, laying bare fears in visions of naked vulnerability. Psychic scholars classify it as a truth tickler, akin to Vermina's dreamwebs but laced with hilarity, and warn of the nude reckoning, where prolonged wear leads to permanent transparency. The victim visible as a ghostly jest to all. Lesser relics abound, like the staff of Sheogorath, a crystalline rod from the Greymark's ruins that summons golden saints or dark seducers as illusory allies, their forms flickering between aid and annoyance, offering battle hymns that devolve into limericks, seducers whispering temptations that end in tickle torture. The chalice of reversal, a goblet of bubbling bliss flow, inverts fortunes. Poison becomes potion, curses boons, but with a twist victory tastes of defeat's ashes. Used by the vestige to thwart Moligbol's vats, it now circulates among Skyrim's mead halls, where Nords toast to mad reversals, their brawls ending in unlikely friendships forged over swapped grudges. Tomes hold their own madness. The Madness or Codex, a book bound in living skin that pages itself with the reader's pulse, chronicles the Isle's history in shifting script battles becoming banquets, heroes, fools. Reading it risks or overload, where facts fractal into falsehoods, driving scholars to found eccentric orders like the Codex Cuckoos, who mimic birds to evade the text's grasp. The Jiggalog's Lament, a grey tome from the Prince of Order's exile, imposes temporary logic on the mind, straightening thoughts into equations that solve riddles but stifle creativity until Sheogorath's epilogue zaps it into confetti, birthing the lament larks, songs of structured sorrow. These artifacts, scattered like punchlines across the Orbis, serve as portals to the prince's philosophy, power through play, enlightenment via eccentricity. They remind us that in the Elder Scrolls' grand narrative, the mightiest weapons are those that disarm with delight, turning the tide of fate one absurd zap at a tim. These encounters, drawn from ancient tomes and heroes' journals, are not mere trials, but symphonies of absurdity, each note a step deeper into the prince's grand jest. From the flickering gates of Oblivion to the mind's shadowed corners, they beckon the bold or the bewildered to play their part in the eternal carnival. The Odyssey begins with the doors of Oblivion, a deceptive prelude in Cyrodiil's frayed edges during the Third Eris crisis. As Maroon's Dagon's portals scar the land, a humble Bravel resident beseeches aid for a statue in the Meadowford, its basin inexplicably dry. The quester, perhaps the hero of Kavach, fresh from Kavach's ashes, follows a trail of dwindling waters to Niben Bay's shivering fogs, where two colossal doors carved like leering faces part to reveal the Shivering Isles. This threshold quest, chronicled in the Pilgrim's Passage, tests resolve with illusions, paths that loop in laughter, guardians posing as lost kin. Crossing yields the first Deeper in, the Museum of Oddities unfolds as a gallery of the grotesque curated by the golden-sent Relmina, Veronim, in her crystalline halls. Tasked by Sheogorath to procure curios of curiosity, the quester hunts artifacts, like the cane of coruscation, a staff that rains fireworks on foes, or the ring of disrobing, which peels away deceptions with gleeful exposure. Each retrieval sparks vignettes, battling a flame atronach that polymorphs into a flock of angry geese, or negotiating with a dark seducer whose whispers unravel the mind's tidy compartments. The museum itself, a vault of Isles history, houses displays like Gigolog's shattered sword, humming with latent order, and serves as a lore travails, whispering tales of past mantlers who briefly donned the mad god's mantle, only to succumb to its intoxicating folly. A better mousetrap escalates the intrigue, a siege of the senses in the Cecilum Ardensa. Sheogorath, reveling in mortal meddling, summons the quester to defend against an intruder, a band of gatekeeper-like beasts from the fringes, arming with traps of twisted genius, cheese-baited pitfalls that summon rat swarms, or bellows phones that amplify screams into sonic booms. The defense devolves into chaos, enemies tripping over their own shadows into vats of bubbling bliss. This quest, laced with the prince's commentary via scrying orbs, exposes the Isle's ecosystem. Grummites chittering in the underbrush, Electra fluttering like living kites, all pawns in the grander game. The ritual of dementia or mania crowns the court's politics, a duel of dispositions in the palace's shadowed wings. Befriending either Duchess Inyaheric's manic flair or Solana's brooding venom, the quester navigates betrayals, poisoning chalices that induce visions of alternate reigns, or forging alliances with scheming golden saints, culminating in a trial by torment, where sanity frays under hallucinatory assaults. Victory installs the quester as Duke Duchess. Their rule, a brief taste of divine eccentricity decrees that turn laws into limericks, banquets where guests dine on their own illusions. The mind of madness, echoing into the Fourth Era, transports the Dragonborn to Pelagius Septime, Ii's tormented psyche via Solitude's blue palace. Sheogorath, masquerading as the Mad Emperor, guides a Wobbyjack-fueled therapy session, banishing paranoia with confetti blasts, taming anger into a cheese wheels roll, soothing fear with dragon puffs. This intimate encounter, rooted in the Septim legacy, blends humor with pathos, revealing madness as a mirror to imperial hubris. Lesser quests pepper the lore, Through the Fringe of Madness, a tutorial trek collecting roots for Gnarl's Garden, birthing the first Edric allies, or symbols of office, forging regalia from Isles oddities, symbolizing the mantler's burden. Each, a thread in Sheogorath's web, leaves questers changed wiser in whimsy, forever attuned to the shiver beneath the Seine. At the heart of Sheogorath's swirling saga stand figures etched in madness and myth, their lives a blend of divine caprice and mortal metal. These souls, from eternal princes to fleeting heroes, illuminate the Isle's bifurcated brilliance, their tales warning that power's edge is ever a slip into folly. Sheogorath, the sanguine king of the Shivering Isles, embodies chaos incarnata. Dedric, prince, born of Lorcan's trickster spark, his form a jester's patchwork, mismatched eyes gleaming like faulty moons, attire a riot of manias, gold and dementias, thorns, once Gigolog's mad curse. He reigns from New Sheoth's throne of random, dispensing quests with a chuckle that echoes across Oblivion. His philosophy, life's a jest, and I'm the Joker. Mortals glimpse his whims in Skyrim's spectral cameos, or Cyrodiil's pranks, forever altered by his touchwiser, wilder, wandering. Gigolig, the Prince of Order, stands as Sheogorath's austere antithesis, tall, robed in crystalline grey, his realm a sterile grid of perfection shattered each grey mark. Cursed by the other Dedra for his unyielding logic, he manifests as the Isle's doom, legions marching in silent symmetry. Post-curses break in the third era. He wanders Oblivion, a ghost of rigidity, occasionally whispering calculations. His laws of logic tomes, smuggled to the arcane university, doctor scholars to Sheogorathian epiphanies, proving order's ultimate absurdity. The hero of Kavach, the fourth era's savior, enters the Isles as a reluctant man, battle-hardened from Oblivion's gates. This silent protagonist, rumored a Nord or imperial foundling, navigates New Sheoth's courts, allying with flamboyant duchesses and wielding the Wobberjack against Gigolog's tide. Ascending as Sheogorath's successor, they vanish into divine eccentricity. Their legacy in Cyrodiil's Kavach shivers, random gusts that rearrange market stalls into riddles, inspiring jester guilds. Pelagius Septime III, the Mad Emperor, haunts as a tragic foil, a Septime scion whose paranoia toppled the line, his mind a fractured palace invaded by In Skyrim's quest, his ghost endures Wobberjack therapy, banishing inner demons. Posthumously, he advises the mad god from the Isle's fringes, his polka of peril, a tune that wards. The duchesses Anya Herrick of Mania, a golden saint of gilded glee, and Solana of dementia, a dark seducer veiled in venom, rule New Sheoth's halves with intrigue. Anya's courts host ecstatic soirees, Solana's brooding banquets, their rivalries fuel quests, ending in ascension or exile, their spirits reforming each era to test new Grumites and Elytra, the Isle's beastly kin, add feral flavor, swamp dwellers, crafting crude charms, or butterfly Dedra scouting with iridescent eyes. The gatekeeper, a hulking flesh golem of stitched dray, guards the threshold, its roars a prelude to wonder. These figures, woven into the mad god's web, remind us, in Tamriel's dream, heroes and horrors alike serve the jest, their bios blueprints for our own mad marches. Sheogorath's madness, like mist from the Niben, seeps into every corner of Tamriel, twisting local myths into prismatic parodies that reflect each province's soul. Far from uniform, his cult adapts Nord sagas of Storr, Dunmer, dirges of Ashwitriv, revealing the mad god's universal jest through cultural lenses, where the Shivering Isles shimmer in regional hues. In Skyrim's frostbitten holds, Sheogorath manifests as the storm jester, a trickster kin to Kyne's winds, his laughter thunder that scatters storms into snowflakes of folly. Nord skalds sing of the Wobberjack winter, where ancient Atmaran shamans invoked him during the Dragon War, zapping Dover into mead-swilling mammoths. Modern cults in Riften's Ratway honor him with mad mead-moots, feasts where bards polymorph grudges into group hugs, their tankards foaming with illusory ale. The Dragonborn's encounter amplifies this. Pelagius' ghost, a Septime echo, blending imperial intrigue with Skyrim's rugged runes. Thalmor purges target these gatherings, viewing the prince as a chaotic counter to their ordered Altmary. Yet even Windhelm's stormcloaks whisper his name in defiant toasts against the White Gold's rigidity. Cyrodiil, cradle of the Isle's incursion, treats Sheogorath as the meadow madcap, a whimsical guardian of the heartland's hazy idols. Imperial scholars in the White Gold Tower archive, the Bravil Breaches, where third-era portals birthed Cheeserain festivals, locals collecting wheels as holy relics. Colovian folktales depict him romping with Debella's doves, his pranks softening the Empire's stern edicts, turning tax collectors into top-hatted frogs. Post-Oblivion crisis Nibonese mystics blend him with Tiber Septime's ghost, founding the Shivering Synod, a rogue arcane order that studies madness as ethereal flux, their experiments yielding spells like Polymorph Proclamation, which reshapes laws into limericks during courtly Morrowind's ashen wastes. In Blacklight's Undercroft's Sixth House remnants invoke him against the Empire, their madness masks carved from ebony, etched with Wobberjack runes, granting visions of Ashes Storm symphonies that bury foes in giggling grit. Telvanni wizards, ever eccentric, experiment with Isle's flora, cultivating mania mushrooms that induce Greymark hallucinations, fueling debates on whether order is but repressed chaos. Across the seas, Hammerfall's Redguards view the prince as the desert's delirium, a mirage maker amid the Alicres' endless sands. Yokudan lore merges him with satirical shed skins, his isles a shifting Simone where dunes form labyrinths of laughter. Crown raiders in Rihod's bazaars trade Wobberjack whetstones, artifacts that sharpen blades to slice illusions. turning swordsing duels into dances of dodged destinies. During the Great War, he allegedly polymorphed Thalmor legions into scorpions, their stings harmless bubbles, earning him a place in Ashaba Ghost. These variants underscore Sheogorath's genius, a god who mirrors the mortal mosaic. His madness, a bomb for each land's burdens, ensuring the Orbis dream dances on in delightful disarray. In the shadowed symposium of Oblivion's spheres, Sheogorath cuts a capering figure among his princely peers, his madness a vibrant counterpoint to their somber symphonies, where other Daedra impose rigid realms' eternal forges, drowning libraries, or chains of despair. The mad god offers a kaleidoscope of chaos, a reminder that the Orbis thrives on the unpredictable twist. This comparative lens, drawn from Psychic annals and Thalmor heresy texts, unveils the mad god's role as the pantheon's jester, balancing order's tyranny with folly's freedom. Contrast him with Mehrunes Dagon, the fiery architect of revolution, whose deadlands erupt in cataclysmic fury towers toppling, worlds remade in molten rage. Dagon's mythos, rooted in the First Era's Berenzia betrayals, embodies destructive change, a hammer to Sheogorath's featherlight poke, yet intersections spark. During the Oblivion crisis, the mad god sealed a portal with a Wobbajack zap, turning Dagon's scamps into scampering squirrels, suggesting madness as revolution's sly sibling, evil not through fire, but through farce that exposes tyranny's absurd underbelly. Lawmasters speculate a hidden enmity, Dagon's order scorning Sheogorath's whimsy, yet both serve Annual's wheel, one shattering to rebuild, the other zapping to reimagine. Hermaeus Mora, the tentacled hoarder of secrets, dwells in apocryphous ink-black stacks, his pursuit of knowledge a drowning obsession that devours seekers. Sheogorath mocks this with the Isle's playful enigmas, riddles wrapped in cheese, truths tickled forth rather than torn. In the tentacle twist myths of the Fourth Era, Mora's seekers invade the Shivering Isles, only to emerge gibbering limericks, their forbidden lore diluted into delightful This rivalry underscores duality, Mora's static accumulation versus Sheogorath's dynamic delirium, where wisdom blooms from bewilderment, preventing knowledge from calcifying into control. Even kin like Sanguine, Prince of Indulgence, shares revels but diverges in depth. Sanguine's parties a fleeting debauch in colourful glades, while Sheogorath's courts delve into the psyche's fractures, indulgence as introspection. The West-wheeled revel tales depict joint fates where Sanguine's wine flows into mania's blissbug nectar. Guests awakening with swapped souls, a collaborative jest that blurs hedonism and hallucination. Against Molag Bal's vampiric dominion of domination, Sheogorath's liberation through lunacy shines. Cold harbors, slaves break chains in the Isles, dances, where submission twists into sovereignty. Femina's nightmare webs ensnare in fear. The mad god's dreams dazzle with possibility. Collectively, they form the enantiomorph's mad brand Sheogorath, the fulcrum, ensuring the Daedric chorus doesn't drone into dullness. Thus, in the Pantheon's grand gignol, the mad god harmonizes discord, his mythos a beacon that even the sternest princes secretly As the wheels of the orbic dream grind toward unseen horizons, Sheogorath's prophecies flicker like faulty stars in the Elder Scrolls. Prophetic firmament, enigmatic auguries that blend doom with delight, foretelling kalpas where madness might mend or unravel the cosmos. These visions scried from the Isles, crystal shards, or etched in the mad ravings of Sibylline seers, paint the prince not as harbinger of end, but as the eternal wildcard. His grey marks echoing through towers of time, the foremost foretelling, the shivering reckoning, emerges from the Third Era's post-Greymark haze. Inscribed in the Codex of Cackles, a tome that pages itself with the reader's chuckles. It prophesies a fifth culpa fracture, where Gigolog's curse rebounds, not as conquest, but as a cosmic jest. The Prince of Order, freed yet fractured, polymorphs into myriad mantlers across Mutandus, each a shard of Sheogorath, enforcing ordered chaos laws that mandate laughter. Grids of gardens blooming with absurd blooms. The hero of Kavachna, the mad god, zaps the Idra into a grand gignol, Talos himself juggling dragon souls like flaming pins. This era dawns with the Wobbajack Wars, where nations duel with staffs of whimsy, empires crumbling into carnival state. Cyrodiil, a coliseum of cheese, Skyrim's holds, howling with harmonious howls, deeper divinations whispered by the Sijic Order's veiled eyes. Link Sheogorath to the tower's fall, as white gold crumbles and red mountains slumbers. The mad god's isle's ingress floods Tamriel with shivering mists, birthing mad mantles for dragonborn heirs. In this polymorph prophecy, the last dragonborn wields a wobberjack forged from Alduin's scales, turning the world-eater into a world-weary bard whose songs unravel the culpus weave, rebooting Kree. Dunmerry Ash oracles, blending Velothi visions, foresee the prince infiltrating the Six Houses' remnants, zapping Dagothior's corpus into a chorus of giggling ghosts, their blight blooming into blissfields of dementia poppies. Yet peril lurks in the Greymark eclipse, a dire augury from Thalmor's star charts. Should the mad god overplay his hand, Gigalog's full return imposes absolute alignment, straightening the orbis into a sterile singularity. Dedra drilled into drones, mortals marching in metric monotony. Countering this, the Jester's Jubilee prophecy promises salvation through collective folly, a global revel where all Tamriel joins the Isle's dance, shattering the grid with synchronized silliness, birthing a culpa of endless enigma, where gods and men swap roles in perpetual play. These prophecies, ever shifting as the prince's moods, serve as Sheogorath's sly sermon. Fate's not fixed, but flexible. Zap it, twist it, and laugh as the towers topple into tomfoo. Sheogorath's whimsy, once confined to Oblivion's fringes, has woven itself into Tamriel's cultural fabric, a persistent shiver that influences art, ritual, and philosophy, transforming the mad god's jests into societal salves for the mundane. From ancient murals to Fourth-era festivals, his influence endures, interpreted not as mere madness, but as a profound philosophy, that in chaos lies clarity, and folly the forge of freedom. This appendix explores his ripple effects, drawing from bardic ballads, scholarly scrolls, and the whispers of wandering minstrels who sing his praises under starlit skies. In the arts, Sheogorath inspires a riot of expression, his duality birthing styles that blend beauty with bedlam. Cyrodiil's Imperial Gallery houses the shivering canvas, murals where golden hues bleed into thorny shadows, depicting the Greymark as a cosmic Balagigolag's legions melting into jester troops. Mid-March, Nord woodcarvers and Windhelm craft wobberjack totems, intricate staves that double as flutes, their melodies mimicking the prince's cackle to ward off winter's gloom. Dunmerry shadow puppets in Morrowind's cantons perform The Mad God's Mask, a play where tribunal figures dissolve into Sheogorath's court, critiquing divine pretensions through slapstick subversion, velvet screens flickering with ashlit laughter, drawing crowds who emerge questioning their own ordered faiths. Rituals and festivals amplify his reach. The Feast of Folly in Bravel, an annual affair post-Oblivion crisis, where citizens don mismatched garb and exchange mad gifts, a wheel of cheese enchanted to sing limericks, or a mirror that reflects alternate lives. In Skyrim, the solstice shiver sees bards invoking Pelagius ghost for wobberjack wakes, communal gatherings where grudges are zapped away with mock duels, using foam staffs, fostering unlikely alliances amid the hold's harsh divides. Even in scholarly circles, the University of Goron's Order of the Odd debates his philosophy, positing madness as a counter to the Thammer's rigid Altmerism tomes, like the Jester's theorem, argued that Sheogorath's Isles model a balanced orbis, where creativity curbs control, influencing modern arcane reforms. Philosophically, interpretations evolve. Psychic mystics view him as the dreamweaver's jest, a safeguard against the godhead's stagnation, his polymorphs echoing the culpa's fluidity. Radical Colovian thinkers, in Madness manifestos, hail him as liberator from imperial dogma, inspiring underground jester cults that prank the Elder Council with illusory edicts. In Elsewhere, Khajiit moonsages interpret his duality through lunar cycles, using his lore for sugar-induced meditations that unlock whisker wisdom insights into the Yakaj's endless paths. Yet, his impact carries shadows. Thalmor inquisitors brand his followers as heretics, purging shivering shrines as threats to harmony, while Argonian shadowwalkers in Black Marsh weave his tales into hist songs, warning of madness's devouring depths. Across Tamriel, Sheogorath's cultural echo endures, a cultural catalyst, urging societies to embrace the absurd, lest they shatter under their own solemnity. Nestled within the Shivering Isles' bifurcated beauty lie artifacts that pulse with the mad gods, mercurial magic relics, born of divine delirium, each a portal to polymorphs and paradoxes that tempt mortals with power's playful peril. These curios, smuggled from New Sheoth's vaults or unearthed in Mania's meadows, embody Sheogorath's ethos, tools that twist fate like a jester's staff. Their lore, a labyrinth of laughter and loss, warning that wielding whimsy invites the Isle's eternal embrace. Foremost among them towers the Wabbajack, Sheogorath's signature sceptre, a gnarled branch of unknown wood, topped with a grinning skull that cackles on command. Forged in the Greymark's aftermath, it zaps targets into absurdity, foes into frolicking foxes, allies into blooming buttercups, or cheese wheels that roll away with riddles. Its curse, unpredictabilities: ape a dragon, get a daisy, aim for a lock, unlock a laugh riot. Nordbards claim it once turned Tiber Septim's legions into lute-strumming jesters during the Tiber Wars, a jest that eased conquest's cruelty. Wielders, from the hero of Fivach to wandering witches, report visions of the mad god's court, their minds forever fringed with folly, the staff vanishing when boredom beckons. The staff of Sheogorath, a crystalline counterpart from the prince's throne room, channels the Isle's duality. One end summons Mania's golden guardians, the other Dementia's shadowy sentinels. Etched with runes that shift like sand, it was gifted to Pelagius III in a dream, aiding his brief rule before madness claimed it. Relics of its power linger in Cyrodiil's ruins, petrified saints and seducers, frozen mid-dance, whispering warnings to tomb raiders who disturb their rest. Lesser wonders abound: the ring of disrobing, a thorned band that strips illusions from the wearer, revealing truths in naked hilarity, emperors uncloaked as clowns, secrets spilled in giggles. The Folium Discognitus, a book of blank pages that writes itself with the reader's forgotten fears, turning phobias into farces, and the Greymark shards, fractured crystals from Jiggelog's realm, which impose fleeting order, straightening crooked paths or silencing chaotic crowds only to shatter into confetti, restoring the Isle's anarchy. These artifacts, hoarded by jester cults or hidden in Skyrim's barrows, serve as Sheogorath's sly summons. Touch them, and the Shivering Isles shiver within, a reminder that relics of madness mend the soul's fractures if one survives the jest. Throughout the annals of Tamriel's heroes, Sheogorath's summons arrive, not with fanfare, but with a sly chuckle in the winter quest begun in a forgotten tome or a sudden storm of butterflies, drawing the unwitting into his web of whimsy and woe. These encounters, chronicled in the hero's handbooks and bardic epics, revealed the prince as master quest giver, his tasks a tapestry of trials that test In the shadowed halls of Skyrim's fourth era, the Dragonborn hears the mad gods murmur during the Wabbajack whimsy quest. Summoned to Pelagius the Mad's spectral banquet in the Blue Palace, cloaked in fog, Sheogorath voiced as a velvet-voiced vaudeville, hat askew and eye twinkling, tasks the hero with mending the emperor's fractured mind, retrieve the staff of Sheogorath from solitude's depths, then navigate the mindscape, zap paranoia with a hawker in a hat, fear with a flame Atronox flirt, and rage with a sweet rose serenity. Success yields the Wabbajack itself. It zaps a chaotic companion through the Civil War's clamor, turning Draugr into dancers and frost trolls into frosted treats. The prince's parting quip: madness is a fine vintage savor it sparingly, or not at all. Earlier, in Cyrodiil's shivering incursion, the hero of Kavach embarks on the Shivering Isles odyssey, crossing the threshold at Sancri Tor's ruins. Sheogorath, lounging on his throne amid thorned tapestries, enlists the champion to thwart Jiggelog's Greymark forge alliances in Mania's golden gates, unravel Dementia's dark deceptions, and claim the mantle of Duke of Mania or Dementia. Side quests abound, through the fringe of madness, escorting a golden saint through mortal perils, or the Antipodean hammer, crafting a relic that balances the Isle's halves. Culminating in the ritual of Dementia, the hero dances the line between order and anarchy, emerging as Sheogorath's successor, the previous prince, vanishing in a puff of paradox. Scattered tales whisper of lesser liaisons. In Morrowind's Ashlands, a Nerevarinial-like wanderer aids the Ashen Jest, polymorphing sixth house beasts into blooming basil. In Hammerfell, the Redguard Blade Runner fulfills the desert's delirium, racing mirage mantles across the Alaka. Each encounter ends with the mad god's mirthful mandate: go forth, and spread the shiver lives too. In the cloistered cloisters of Tamriel's faiths, Sheogorath stirs ceaseless schisms, his paradoxical presence igniting theological tempests that question the very pillars of divinity. Is the mad god a flaw in the Edric blueprint, a Daedric disruptor, or the godhead's giggling glitch? These debates, raging from the White Gold Concordat's aftermath to the Synod's secret scrolls, frame him not as peripheral prankster, but as Pantheon's pivotal provocateur. His madness a mirror to the orbis' absurd underpinnings. Orthodox imperial cultists, in the divine's ninefold harmony, decry Sheogorath as a Daedric distemper, an unwelcome whisper in the Eighth Symphony. His Shivering Isles, a shadow realm siphoning souls from Akatosh's steady wheel. The temple of the One's tomes, like the ordered Horus, argue his grey mark mocks the creation myth. Gigolog's curse, a veiled critique of Anu's stasis, tempting mortals toward chaotic heresy, yet dissenting priests in the cult of Talos whisper of hidden harmony. Sheogorath, as the ninth's sly shadow, his wabberjack echoing Lorkhan's trickster, Heartsap the dragon, and the wheel turns anew. This enantiomorphic jest, heresy, suppressed by Thalmor edicts, posits the mad god as Talos' jesterkin, ensuring the dragon god doesn't drudge into drudgery. Their dualities dancing in the dream's depths. Among the Psychic Order's veiled visions, the debate deepens into metaphysical mazes. Sheogorath, as the achiever's antithesis, a counterforce to the godhead's solipsistic sleep, his polymorphs preventing the orbis from calcifying into coma. Artaeum's paradox parchments theorized the prince's duality as the enantiomorph incarnate. Gigolig, the Podomic Order. Sheogorath, the Anuic, Anak united in the Greymark, as creation's cosmic chuckle. Or Vivek's veiled verse, madness as poetry's peril. The new temple's madness missives brand his followers as demented dissemblers, purging jester shrines amid red mountains rumbles. Across these theological tussles, Sheogorath remains the riddle without resolution, divine discord that delights in debate, reminding the faithful that faith's firmest foundations fracture under folly's fondle. Sheogorath's silhouette slinks through Tamriel's literary labyrinths, a spectral scribe whose folklore frolics in folktales and forgotten folios, turning the prince into a folkloric fixture, whimsical warden of words that warp the world's woes into wry wonders. From Skyrim saga songs to Somerset satirical scrolls, his literary legacy is a lexicon of lunacy, where bards and bookworms alike invoke the mad god to leaven life's litany of laments with laughter's light touch. In Nordic lore, the saga of the Shivering Septim spins a yarn of Tiber Septim's secret sojourn to the Is, where Sheogorath disguised as a doddering dwarf zaps the conqueror's crown into a colander, forcing the future Talos to juggle javelins of jelly while pondering power's pudding. Penned in the Skald's Shiver, this epic, recited at winter feasts, warns of ambition's absurd underbelly. The dragon's roar rings hollow when the wabberjack whistles. Breton ballads, like the bard's Bedlam Brew, chronicle a high rock harvest where the prince polymorphs a pompous count into a croaking crow, his court cackling as the bird croons couplets of critique, a fable favoring the foolish over the fraught. Elven elegies offer edgier echoes, ultimary annals of anarchy satirize. Sheogorath as the Ultima's bane, a bardic broadside where the prince pranks Fenaster's path with potholes of petals, turning pilgrimages into parades of pratfalls, subtle subversion of elven excellence, whispered in Windhelm's shadows to irk Thalmor envoys. Argonian amphibian fables, etched in Histap scrolls, where Sheogorath summons a swamp storm of singings, teaching tree-minders that orders are illusion. Madness, the true tale is told in Lilmuth's lagoons, blending Black Marsh's boggy mysticism with the mad god's mirth. Merowyn's mythic manuscripts mingle him with marish melancholy. The Velothi vignettes depict a Nerevarine nephew navigating New Sheath's nonsense, zapping tribunal totems into tumbling toys, a parable pondering prophecies, playfulness amid ash and atonement. Across these literary leaves, Sheogorath emerges as storyteller supreme, his folklore a forgiving filter framing the orbis aches as anecdotes, inviting all to the grand jest, where every ending enchants with an unexpected encore. Sheogorath's shadow stretches into the psyche's shadowed sanctums, where scholars and seers sift his madness not as mere malady, but as a multifaceted mirror, reflecting the mortal mind's meandering mazes, inviting introspection amid the isle's illusory The Psychic Mind's Shiva posits Sheogorath as the embodiment of cognitive dissonance, his duality a dialectic of the divided self-manias, manic highs mirroring euphoria's edge, dementia's depths delving into despair's drag. The Greymark, in this view, cycles like manic depressive moods. Gigologs order a desperate grasp at stability amid chaos's churn. Healer hags in High Rock's hedge schools invoke his lore for Wobberjack therapies, using riddle realms to rewire rattled minds, polymorph a phobia into a playful phantom, and watch the patient laugh their way to lucidity. Even in Skyrim's Stormcloak sagas, Bard's Bard of Pelagia's Psyche, where the Mad Emperor's torment haunted by the prince's pranks illustrates trauma's transmutation, folly as forge for forgotten fortitude. Philosophically, the Shivering Solipsism school, scribbled in solitudes, scriptoriums, aligns Sheogorath with the godhead's grand dream, his jests jolting the orbis from apathetic awakening madness as the mind's mercy, preventing the dreamer's doze into dullness. Echoing Vivek's verse, Colovian cogitators in the Jester's Jaunt argue his polymorph's parody predestination, zap the script, and free will flickers forth, a philosophical filibuster against the fate's fixed script. In Elven Esoterica, Altmer analysts in Alina's arcane Athenaeums decry him as the Anarchy's avatar, a peril to perfectibility yet underground. Eurodrota thinkers, blending Dunmer doubt with Dedrick daring, hail his heresy as hermeneutic haven, where interpretation's infinite aisles liberate the leashed logos. These interpretations interlace into a tapestry of transcendence. Sheogorath as psychopomp of the psyche, his madness a philosophical panacea, urging mortals to embrace the enigmatic, lest their ordered egos ossify into Oblivion's own jest. Sheogorath's whims waft through the wizard's weave, and alchemist's alembic, infusing Tamriel's arcane arts with an undercurrent of unpredictability. Madcap magic where spells sparkle with sabotage and elixirs effervesce into enigmas, turning the College of Winterhold's tomes and the Mages Guild's mortar into playgrounds of peril and play. His influence, seeping from the Shivering Isles like fog from a fractured flask, redefines enchantment as entertainment, where the line between invocation and insanity blurs in bursts of bizarre brilliance. In the realm of Sheogorath, Sheogorath's signature is the polymorph's playful pivot. The Wobberjack weave, a forbidden formula filched from his throne room, transmutes targets into trifles, Draugr into daffodils, mages into mewling mice with a whisper of will. Nordic necromancers in the Pale's permafrost prisons practiced mad god's morph, a ritual rune that rebounds on the wreck. More subtle sorceries stir in his shadow, the shiver illusion, veiling visions with Isles illusions, hallucinated hawkers haranguing foes, or phantom feasts that fill bellies with butterflies. Even in elven enclaves, Altmer arcanists adapt his arts into demented divinations, scrying sessions that spiral into surrealism, revealing futures as fractured funhouse mirrors, their crystal spheres shattering into confetti when clarity threatens. Alchemy bows to the prince's brew with bubbling bedlam, the folium flux, a potion distilled from mania's moonsugar and dementia's dusk, induces euphoric epiphanies laced with lunacy imbibers, invent idioms in inverse, or alchemize air into ambrosia, only to awaken amid a swarm of self-summoned skeever sprites. The Greymark tincture, rare relic of Gigolog's realm, grants glimpses of godlike order, potions that precisely predict precipitation or perfectly proportioned poisons, yet curdle into chaos if overindulged, flooding labs. These arcane infusions, documented in the Madcap Manual of the Mages Guild's Mad Wing, underscore Sheogorath's sly sovereignty over sorcery, magic not as mastery, but as merriment's mischief, a reminder that the arcane's allure lies in its latent lunacy, where every incantation invites the Isles' irreverent invitation. The Shivering Isles seep into Tamriel's creative currents like ink from a tipped inkwell, staining canvases and scores with strokes of surreal splendor. Mad muse where artists and artisans channel Sheogorath's essence into expressions that echo the Isles' eternal eccentricity. From the gilded galleries of Werest to the frost-forged forges of Winter, his realm inspires a riot of representations, turning the mundane into masterpieces of madness, where every note nudges the normalcy and every hue hails the hallucinatory. Visual visions abound in the Shiver frescoes, mural marvels adorning Nushiath's noble nooks. Mania's manic murals burst with butterscotch banners and ballooning beasts, painted in pigments plucked from palace petals, while dementia's dim dioramas drip with dusky, despair-twisted thorns twisting into tear-streaked faces. Inked in inks of indigo ichor, Traveling troubadours transport these tapestries in Cyrodiil's courts. The Wobberjack War whimsically warps portraits. Sheogorath's staff zapping emperors into echidnas midst a satirical stab at sovereignty's silliness. Elven etchers in Shivering Isles, illuminations, illuminated manuscripts where Gigolog's crystalline curse cracks into kaleidoscopic chaos. Their filigreed folly forbidden by the same, smuggled to subversives seeking sublime subversion. Music marches to the mad god's melody, a cacophony of capricious compositions that capture the Greymark's grim grind and rebirth's buoyant bounce. The essay bardic ballads like the jester's jig jingle with jaunty jug band, flutes flitting like fleeing fireflies over drums that drummed the disorder, performed at Pelagius festivals where dancers donned dementia masks, twirling till twilight. In Argonian, a cappella assembly's hissed harmony, hysteria, harmonizes hissed whispers with hallucinatory howls. Choral chaos that conjures croaking choruses of spectral skeever choirs, a swampy serenade to the prince's polymorphs. These artistic avatars affirm the Isle's indelible imprint, art and music as conduits of the chaotic, inviting Tamriel's talents to tango with the transcendental, where creation's canvas and concert hall become portals to the prince's perpetual party. Sheogorath's sly smirk lingers in the loom of prophecies, a capricious counterpoint to Tamriel's doomsday's Edgar disruptor, who dances on the edge of apocalypses, turning tidal waves of tragedy into tidal pools of tomfoolery. In the scrolls of seers and the whispers of the wind, he emerges not as harbinger of horror, but as the hilarious hinge upon which fates flop and flail. His madness a merciful mockery amid the orbis apocalyptic aches. The Elder Scrolls themselves shiver at his shadow. In the fractured folios of the moth, visions of the Greymark overlay the culpus close. Gigoleg's crystalline cull clashing with the tower's tumble Sheogorath, zapping the Numidium into a noodle, averting or amplifying the red year with a ridiculous ricochet. Nordic prophecies in the Book of the Dragonborn dub him the Fool's Fulcrum, a wild card in the Dragon Crisis. Alduin's world deet devours the Isles first, only for the mad god to polymorph the Timeter into a ticklish turkey, buying the last Dragonborn a breath to bellow back. This jester's jape prophecy, etched in Eastmark's elder oaks, posits his intervention as the enantiomorph's echo chaos crowning the hero's horn, lest Order's Oblivion sparing souls from the straightforward slaughter. In elven eschatology, the Altmari Armageddon scrolls scorn him as the sabotage of Sothasil's clockwork cataclysm, his pranks puncturing the perfect prophecy, turning tribunal triumphs into tragic tangles of tentacles and tea parties. Even in the Thoma's veiled volumes, suppressed by Sapiarch seals, he's the discordant dawn, a Daedric detour in the Crystal Tower's collapse, his folly fostering fractures that free the elven essence from enslavement. Script. These prophetic perambulations paint Sheogorath as Apocalypse's antidote, not the end's engineer, but its eccentric editor, ensuring that even in the unraveling, the universe utters one last, liberating laugh. Sheogorath's summons slither into the souls of the sidelined, spawning sects and societies that savor his sublime silliness, motley menagerie of madcaps, who flock to the fringes of faith, turning temples into taverns of tomfoolery, and shrines into stages for wanders the wilds wielding replicas of the prince's prized staff-snapping zealots, into zebras or zucchini for zealous zeal, their initiations involving inverted incantations that invert the inductee's identity. Rooted in the Ratway's ragged remnants, they proselytize with pranks, polymorphing pious priests into prancing pigs during sermons, preaching that piety is a punchline in the prince's play. More monastic madness manifests in the Shivering Sanctuary, a hidden haven in the Gerald Mountains, where hooded heretics host Greymarshi Gala's rituals, reversing Gigolog's rigor with raucous revels, donning dual masks of mania and dementia to duel in dances of derangement, their chants chortling, Orders the oath, chaos the crown, cults cluster in the cracks, the Pelagius piety, a Breton brotherhood birthed from the mad emperor's melancholy, bruise bombs of bedlam in basements, invoking Sheogorath to soothe sorrows with surreal Sojourn's followers fasting on folly fruits, emerging enlightened or entirely unhinged. In Skyrim's shadowed septs, the mad god's moot convenes misfits in mead halls, mocking the Allmaker with mock trials where defendants defend with doggerel, the verdict a vortex of vaudeville. Argonian adherents in murkier marshes form the swamp shiver circle, hiss-touched tribes that trance into tidal tantrums, summoning Skiva swarms as sacraments. Their lore linking the prince to Sithis, sly-smiled madness as the marsh's merciful mask. Yet mysteries mantle these movements, whispers of the endless enclave, an elusive echelon of eternal devotees said to dwell in the Isles' inverted undercroft, guardians of the Greymark's grim who emerge only to escort the exceptionally eccentric to Sheogorath's side. Their enigmas enthrall, a tantalizing tangle of truth and trickery, underscoring that in the Pantheon's pandemonium, where spheres spin in solemn spheres, the mad god's mirth mocks the motifs of his kin, turning tragedies tide into a torrent of teasing. His whimsy, a whimsical wedge in the wheel of woe, contrasts him with Maroon's Dagon, the destroyer's draconian drive, where Dagon devastates with Daedric deluges of fire and fury, raising realms in righteous rage. Sheogorath sabotages with sly sabotages into singing squirrels, his polymorphs puncturing the prince of plots with playful puncture. Azura's azure prophecies, woven with wistful warnings and fateful filigrees, find foil in his fractured foresight. Her dawn and dusk dictate destinies with dignified decree. Yet the mad god disrupts with deranged divination, turning twilight trysts into twilight teas, where seers sip surreal serums, laughing at the loom of lots. Hermaeus Murus murky tomes of forbidden knowledge, tentacles tangling in tantalizing truths, clash with knowledge not as conquest but as capricious confetti. Even kin like Sanguine, the seducer's sultry soirees of sensuous sin, pale beside Sheogorath's unbridled uproar. Sanguine's sybaritic sprees seduce with silken snares, her velvet vice of vice, but the mad god's bacchanals balloon into bedlamic blowout orgies of orcs and owlbears, where revels rebound into ridiculous roots, seductions, subtlety shattered by sheer silliness. Moloch bowls brutal bondage, chains of domination dragging souls into despair's depths, meets its merry match in the mad gods, manacles of merriment. The house of horrors hammers with hatred's heavy hand. Yet Sheogorath shackles with shackles of shadow puppets, tyranny transmuted to ticklish torment. These juxtapositions illuminate the Isle's isolation. Sheogorath, as the Pantheon's prankster, his madness a mitigating mirth that humanizes the horrors, ensuring the Daedric drama dances to a ditty of delight amid the Sheogorath's trove transcends the Wobberjack's whimsical whims, spilling forth a splendor of strange souvenirs, radiating the riddler's radiant ridiculousness, each a portal to pandemonium, plucked from the palace's playful pantries and scattered across the plains like confetti from a cosmic clown. These baubles, brimming with the prince's puckish power, beckon the bold and bewildered the brave, turning trinkets into trials of transcendental tomfoolery, where possession promises peril and punchlines in equal measure. Foremost flickers the fork of horripilation, a fearsome fork from the Isle's foggy forges, no mere utensil but a utensil of utmost unease. Wielded in the wilds of Wearist, it forks fate with flailing forks of fright, summoning spectral silverware to skewer foes in a flurry of flummoxed flailing victims, vanishing into vinaigrette voids, only to re-emerge as ravenous rabbits. Its haft, hewn from heartwood of hallucinated hawthorns, hums with the mad gods. It's the silver supper's scourge, brandished by barrowbards to battle Draugr with dining delirium, the fork's tines tingling with transformative terror. Then twirls the staff of Sheogorath, a slender scepter of swirling, shivering sap. Sibling to the Wobberjack in sabotage, it summons storms of swirling sweets, or swarms of sarcastic sprites, its crystals crackling with capricious command zap, a zombie into a zesty zephyr, or zest, a zealot, with zealous zzz's of slumber, etched with enigmas of the Greymark. It grants the gripper godlike giggles, but grip too greedily and it greymarks the mind, crystallizing cogitations into comatose cubes. Breton bards borrow it for bardic bedlam, composing cantrips that conjure chaotic choruses, their songs summoning Sheogorath's spectral self for a duet of derangement. Lesser legacies lurk in the mad god's cheese wheel, a wheel of wonder from dairy dimensions, its rind ruined with runes of revelry, nibble and navigate nightmares. The Greymark's grim crescendo crashes like crystalline comets upon the Isles, a cataclysmic cleanse that crystallizes chaos into cold conformity. Gigolog's juggernaut of judgment, sweeping through shivering spires, turning the technicolored tapestry to a monochrome mausoleum of methodical misery. Yet in its wake, the aftermath unfurls as the universe's ultimate underdog tale. Order's overreach birthing the backlash of boundless bedlam, the rebirth, a riotous renaissance where Sheogorath springs from the shards, his laughter the lubricant that loosens the locks of logic, rebooting the realm in a blaze of buoyant buffoonery. Post-purge the Isles lie in languid limbo, mania's manic meadows marbleized into monolithic mazes, dementious dusky dales dusted with diamondine despair, New Sheogorath, an acropolis of neatness where nobles' nooks nestle in numb neutrality. The golden saints and dark seducers, once warring whims, wither into watchful wardens' crystals, claiming their caprice. Mortals marooned in the madness, those unfortunates uprooted from navigate the nadir, sanity's survivors, scavenging for scraps of silliness, whispering wards against the whitewashed wasteland, their minds meandering through the monochrome like moths in a mist, yearning for the yellows and blues of yore. But the cycle's cunning core conceals the comeback. As Gigolog's perfection peaks, the paradox prickles the Prince of Order. In imposing his ideal, invites the inevitable inversion. His victory, the very venom that venomizes his vanquish, Sheogorath's essence, slyly sequestered in the shadows of the staff, or the souls of the steadfast, surges forth in a spectacular spasm. The Wabbajack whirls wildly, zapping the zenith of Zen into a zany zoo, crystals cracking under the crescendo of cosmic chuckles. Rebirth roars as the mad god materializes from the melee, perhaps from a humble hawker pie or the heart of a heroic holdout, his form fracturing the frost with frolicsome. This eternal ebb and flow etches the essence of existence, destruction not as denouement but as delightful detour. The grey marks gloom the groundwork for glee's grand return, reminding all realms that even in the rigid repose of reason, the ridiculous reigns reborn. Sheogorath's tendrils tease the tenuous threads of mortal minds, a mischievous muse who murmurs madness into the mundane. Edgar director staging soliloquies of surrealism in the souls of the susceptible, transforming tragedy's tollbooth into a tollbooth of ticklish twists, from the frostbitten farms of Skyrim to the sun-scorched sands of Hammerfall. His influence infiltrates like invisible ink, igniting inspirations that border on the bizarre. Where the line between lunacy and luminosity blurs into a beautiful bedlam, mortals molded into mouthpieces for the mad god's merry mischief. In the annals of afflicted artists, Sheogorath's spark strikes like a sudden squall, the bardic ballads of Brina Blood. Painters in the pale, like the enigmatic Eola, etch easels with eldritch enamels, canvases crawling with capricious critters, under his unseen aegis portraits of kings as kaleidoscopic clowns, their pigments pulsing with the pulse of the Isles, inspiring imitators to immerse in irrational reveries, where the brush becomes the bridge to bedlam's bliss. Scholars and scribes succumb subtler. The scribe of solitude, scribbling scrolls in the dead of night, finds footnotes flowering into fantastical fables, Sheogorath's whispers weaving wormholes into weighty tomes, turning treatises on the tribunal into treatises on tea-time tantrums. His influence, an insidious infusion that frees the fettered fact from fiction's forge. Warriors wield his whimsy in weirder ways. The Redguard rogue Rasha, ragged by Ragada regrets, rallies with ridiculous relics a Wabbajacoon warhammer that whacks with whimsical whirls. Foes felled not by fury, but by fits of foolish flailing, her legend lauding. Madness not mere malady, but a merciful mantle shielding the shattered from sorrow's sharp sting. Sheogorath's touch transmuting torment into transcendent tales, mortals emerging as muses in the grand gignal of the gods, their lives a lively link in the chain of cosmic caprice. The Shivering Isles burgeon with botanical bedlam and bestial buffoonery, a verdant vaudeville where flora frolics in fervent frenzy, and fauna flaunts the fantastical realm where roots revel in riddles and beasts banter with the bizarre, each element an extension of Sheogorath's sublime silliness, painting the plains in palettes of pandemonium that pulse with the prince's playful pulse. From mania's manic meadows to dementia's dusky dells, the landscape lives as a living jest, its wonders whispering welcomes to wanderers willing to wade the weird. Flora flourishes in flamboyant forms, the Elysian iris, iridescent blooms in mania's meadows that iris into infinite illusions, peeling back to portals of pastel pandemonium. Inhaling their aroma invites an afternoon of airborne adventures, drifting through dreamscapes dotted with dancing daffodils. In dementia's dimmer domains, gnarlroot groves, gnarl with grotesque grace, trees twisting into tormented topiaries that topple trespassers into ticklish tangles, their bark bubbling with bombs of bedlam sap that saps sanity, sprouting spontaneous solos from the singer's soul, fungi frenzy in fungal fields, madcap mushrooms, caps crowned with crystalline confetti, pop with psychedelic puffs, turning the timid into temporary tricksters who traipse through twilight trances, their spores sowing seeds of spontaneous symphonies in the silent soil. Fauna flits and frolics with equal eccentricity, the Electra elk, elegant yet erratic, antlers adorned with ever-shifting, polymorphing pursuers into playful pups mid-chase. Avian anomalies abound in wispwings, wispy warblers whose wings weave whispers of whimsy, nesting in new Sheogorath's nooks, their songs summoning swarms of sarcastic sprites that serenade the sane into submission. Fantastical features frame this frenzy, crystalline caverns in the core, where echo crystals echo emotions into exaggerated enactments, love lurches into lavish lunacy, fear fractures into frantic farces, rivers of liquid laughter lap lazily, lapping drinkers with lifelong levity, their banks blooming with bioluminescent brambles that branch into branching bromides. These wonders weave the isles, wild weave, a testament to Sheogorath's genius, where nature nods to nonsense, inviting immersion in the infinite jest of existence. Sheogorath's shadow slinks slyly through the societies of Tamriel, a spectral saboteur sprinkling silliness into the solemn stratagems of factions and figures of Dedrick dilettante delight. From the imperial city's intricate intrigues to the shadowy syndicates of the mad god's meddlings manifest as mischievous missives, mortals ensnared in his elaborate escapades, their destinies danced to the ditty of derangement. The empire endures his eccentric entanglements. During the Septime dynasty's splendor, Uriel Septim VII's visions veer into vexing vignettes. Sheogorath's summoning a spectral supper, where senators sup on sentient sausages, the emperor's edicts echoed with enigmatic echoes, his Oblivion crisis council couched in cryptic conundrums that confound the council, yet subtly steer the savior toward shivering salvation. In the Thermos thorny theocracy, Altmer agents ambushed by absurd ambivalences, elven envoys to the Isles ensnared in endless etiquette exercises, their superiority shattered by Sheogorath's soirees of surreal scrutiny, alliances aborted amid fits of foolish flattery. Factions fall further into his folly. The thieves' guild's twilight trades tangle with trickster trinkets, whispers of Wobbajaquan wealth, where guildmasters grapple with Gugos, that gild greed into gleeful grotesques. Brynjolf's banter beguiled by bardic bedlam, his heists hijacked into hilarious hijinks, the Dark Brotherhood's deadly dances darken with derision, assassins anointed with mad god's mercy, their blades blunted by bursts of buffoonery, sisters of slaughter sidelined by spontaneous contracts concluding in comical confessions, Sithis silence shattered by Sheogorath's snickers. Even the College of Winterhold's wizardly woes whirl with whimsy. Mages mesmerized by manias, their magicka mutated into mischievous manifestations, Feralda's firewalls flickering into festive fireworks, the Eye of Magnus eyeing the Isles with intrigued illumination. Legendary luminaries lure his lore, the Nerevarine navigates Morrowind's morass with madcap missives. Tribunal trials twisted by teasing taunts that topple the temple's tenets, the Dragonborn Devakin destiny, derailed in dragon-dodging delusions, receives riddles from the Riddler that resolve the civil strife in riddles of reconciliation. These interactions illuminate the infiltrator's intent, Sheogorath as Tamriel's trickster thread, weaving whimsy into the warp and weft of history, ensuring no empire endures without a wink of the wild. Whispers weave through the wind-swept willows of the Shivering Isles, where myths murmur like mischievous mice and legends leap like laughing lynxes of folklore forged in the furnace of folly. Folktales flickering with the firefly fancies of Sheogorath's sublime storytelling. Each yarn, a yarn ball of yarn-spinning yarns that yarn the young and old into the web of whimsical wonder, passed from parent to progeny in new Sheogorath's nocturnal nooks, or crooned by golden saints round grey-marked glows. These sagas sing the soul of the Isles, Blendi. Central stands the myth of the first fool, a foundational fable of folly's flourish, in the dawn of Dedrick days, when Gigalog's jade judgment jailed the joys of creation. A humble hedgehog humble yet hubristic hobbled into his hall, bearing a basket of bewildered berries. The Prince of Order, affronted by the absurdity, ordered its obliteration. but the berries burst into a barrage of buoyant butterflies, bewildering the bailiffs and birthing bedlam from the backlash. From this hedgehog's heart sprang the saga swears, his laughter the lash that lashed logic loose, teaching that the tiniest tomfoolery topples tyranny's tower tale told to toddlers tumbling in mania's meadows, reminding them resistance resides in the ridiculous. Legends loom larger in the lay of the laughing labyrinth, a labyrinthine lore of lost lovers. Lyral, the languid, a Dunmer duchess, displaced to dementia's depths, wandered a weaving warren woven by the mad god himself, walls whispering woes that warped into witty wise minotaurs morphing mid-minas into merry minstrels. She emerged enlightened, her heart a haven of hilarity, founding the first festival of fools, where folly's feast feasted on fear's famine. Echoed in elven enclaves of Somerset, it legends love's liberation through lunacy, lovers linking arms in labyrinthian dances to defy despair. Folktales frolic freer, the tale of the trickster's tea, where a sly skeever steals Sheogorath's scepter for a sip of supreme silliness, only to spawn a spree of sentient spoons that spoon-feeds secrets to the stars, ending in a tea-time truce that tames the tempest. A nursery nonsense nurturing notions of negotiation with nonsense, or the ballad of the broken bannock,